when we are talking about clubbing cases, the prayers were exactly the same. Both wanted their prayers clubbed. When the Supreme Court gave a tongue lashing to Nupur, the same bench was hailed and applauded. Today, convoluted arguments are being given to pick holes in what the Supreme Court is saying. When the Supreme Court gave Zubair relief, the Supreme Court was lauded. Investigating agencies, including the police in Uttar Pradesh, was castigated. Today, viewers, questions are being asked about the Delhi police and why is the case being given to the Delhi police? I cannot understand it. Dr. Ranganathan, can you explain?
Yes, I will explain just briefly in a minute. First of all, to my good friend Tausif bhai, as the saying goes, सावन के अंधे को सब हरा दिखता है. Tausif को तो वैसे ही सब हरा दिखता है. Yeah, I hope you understood what he was alluding to. That he was begging as much time for him as he said you give to those who are supporting BJP.
Yeah.
अरे थोड़ा पढ़ के आ जा रहे Tausif bhai. No one has castigated the BJP more on this than I have. And Abhijit also. And Ishkaran also. थोड़ी knowledge gain करो. Number two, and he is deliberately avoiding this simple question. What has changed today from 1.5 months ago when the Supreme Court denied the same relief? And I know he won't answer this because I'll tell you why. Because Bengal and Mamta Didi has been at the forefront of leading Nupur to the guillotine. I am quoting Mamta. She said, we won't leave her. It is akin to that AIMIM guy, MP was saying that we should hang Nupur. It is akin to this in Jammu on the mosque. They are saying we will behead Nupur. They are the kind of people who are making such statements. Tausif wants Nupur in Bengal because Tausif knows what will happen to her. And finally, अगर Tausif में इतना दम है, अगर ये unbiased है जो कि नहीं है, let me ask him, is it not that Nupur quoted what is derived from Hadith Sahih Bukhari 5134 and Sunan Nasai 3378? अगर दम है तो बोलो.
Mr. Ranganathan, please come to Bengal. I will offer you Rasgulla. Don't be afraid of Tausif Khan. If you come to Bengal, I will take you to the best place in Kolkata and I will give you Mishtu Doi and Rasgulla. Please come to Calcutta. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Bengal is a very peace-loving state. Please come to Kolkata. I will offer you Mishtu Doi and Rasgulla. Don't be scared and don't spread this misinformation on to the viewers of this channel.
Yeah, what is the misinformation?
The answer is very simple.
Quote from the Hadith?
Zubair was an accused.
What was derived from the Hadith?
No.
Why are you so scared to answer it?
Nupur is indulging in forum shopping and Supreme Court is under pressure. Supreme Court is
under pressure. The cat's out of the bag.
After all, the judges are
the cat's out of the bag. The judges are under pressure. Here Tausif Ahmed now showing his true colors.
Zubair's FIR.
Bengal is very peaceful, he says. Ask Taslima Nasreen. Let me ask Taslima Nasreen what she thinks about Bengal's safety record when it comes to people who strike a divergence. Wow. आज तो आपने कमाल कर दिया तौसीफ साहब. कमाल कर दिया. Are you talking about Bengal? Which Bengal?
Don't be scared, Rahul.
Oh no, I am petrified, sir. I am agreeing. I am petrified. मेरे खिलाफ तो आपने ऐसे केसेस ठोक रखे हैं सच बोलने के लिए. मैं तो डरता हूँ जो लोग बेचारे झूठ बोल रहे हैं उनका क्या होगा?
Why you scared if you have not done anything? Go face
I am not scared. I am not scared, sir, of your cases. I am not scared of your cases. I am scared of your inability, sir, of your inability to deliver justice. Even when, no, one second, in an impartial way. That is what I am scared of. ये मत बोलिए मुझे, please. Thank you very much. I don't need, sir, I don't have any Dutch courage. I don't need any intoxicants to get me all excited, etc. and feel the courage. I am courageous. That's why I'm speaking my mind today. So don't give me your, you are not courageous. You can't tell us.
Yes.
You can't tell us honestly the difference between Zubair and Nupur's petitions. आप डरते हैं क्योंकि आपका वहां रहना मुश्किल पड़ जाएगा. Anyhow, Ishkaran Bhandari, I want to bring you in. Ishkaran Bhandari, tell us the Supreme Court today. Mr. Mitra Iyer is also there. Mr. Tala Aamir is also there. First, Ishkaran Bhandari, tell me, why is this difference? Has Zubair does he have 5 eyes and Nupur has 0, or there is something comely about him? and not so much about Nupur that, you know, the West Bengal government and the lobby, the ecosystem defended him and not Nupur Sharma. क्या चक्कर है जरा हमें बताइएगा, Advocate साहब, Ishkaran Bhandari.
Rahul, this entire debate has ignited enough passions. Let us calmly observe why there is a hypocrisy in stand between different people speaking different things. Firstly, one important fact. Mohammad Zubair case was not a single incident resulting in multiple FIRs. There were allegations of multiple incidents. Whereas Nupur was one incident resulting in multiple FIRs. So there is a fundamental qualitative difference which I believe makes Nupur Sharma case way stronger. But that be aside, let us please understand all interim orders of the Supreme Court get subsumed by the final order. I, for one, am very happy that the final order which has come today, there was very strong effort made today, A, to have Maharashtra FIR be investigated, not Delhi FIR. Then that West Bengal somehow was the most affected state and that FIR should be investigated or made the primary FIR. Then that an SIT be constituted. Then that a court-monitored probe be done. All of that was rejected by the Honorable Supreme Court, and Nupur Sharma, I believe, has gotten complete relief, including further FIRs, if any, which may be done on the same instance. Secondly, the first hearing and this hearing, I would say I would answer from the judge's observation itself, and I think it shows a great magnanimity if you have a rethink on an issue and you come to a conclusion rather than you doubling down. That is how I see these things. And in the final result, if she has gotten relief, when the first order came, I was very clear. I had a lot of things to say about that. But this order, I think, is a perfect order which does her complete justice. And I hope next time such cases...
But I want to ask you, Ishkaran Bhandari, on this point. So many things were said. So many things were said. Former justices came out and said that the case had been prejudiced by those observations. Do you think the justices could not have read down those observations and said now expunging them or removing them or, you know, omitting them from the record?
That is, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's a very important point. But then the whole point of those observations were they were never a matter of record. They were not put down in the written order.
Have said, no, that because the demand was made. No, hang on. Ishkaran bhai, the demand was made, remove them, expunge them, withdraw them. They could take them back. They can say, look, those observations were made, we are taking them back. It materially may not have manifested itself on some document, but certainly it would have set the record straight. Why couldn't that have been done?
Rahul, the record has been set straight by the final order. What counts in the court is the final order as written down.
No, sir. A lot of people believe, see, Dr. Swami, for instance, would never have said what you are saying. Let me tell you this.
Maybe.
He would have said that the court needed to go, the same justices needed to go the whole hog. They should have said that, look, in the heat of the moment or whatever, I don't want to preempt those justices. They could have actually, at some level, expressed something for why they said what they did or what they didn't.
Rahul,
yes, Dr. Ranganath.
That is...
Yes. No, you know, Ishkaran is a wonderful, a very dear friend.
10 seconds.
Okay, yeah, okay, 10 seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Bhandari, 10 seconds. Yes, of course.
Rahul, there can be two views on that, and I respect your view.
Of course.
But my view is final order which comes through gives her complete justice and subsumes all interim orders.
Okay, fair enough. That's another way of looking at it. Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Yes, very briefly, Ishkaran is a very dear friend and he's a fantastic lawyer, and I suppose what he's saying that the judges have been very magnanimous and the matter should end there, maybe a little bit, I'm not attributing motives, is the fact that he is a Supreme Court lawyer as well and he probably has to meet those same judges. But the fact of the matter is, magnanimity or not, there is no magnanimity without an apology. If those judges were politicians or scientists and they had made these grievous mistakes, same Ishkaran would have asked them to apologize.
Okay, let's
once you apologize,
let's go back to the main subject. Let's go back to the main subject, that of hypocrisy. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, I'm coming straight back to you. I also want to bring in Advocate Tala Aamir Sahab. First to you, Mr. Mitra. What do you believe is the issue here? If indeed this is foreign shopping, then what explains the same bench that first castigated Nupur has now given a relief? Will you concede that there has been introspection? Will you concede that there has been a rethink? And beyond that, do you believe that certain elements, an ecosystem, call it what you want to, applies the yardsticks to Zubair differently from Nupur?
The ecosystem you can see present right here. You remember when there was an UP SIT against the Islamist radical himself a fact checker. There were certain TMC members, notably a fellow called Saket Gokhale, who calls himself an activist, who went around saying an SIT for tweets. Today, the West Bengal Council has asked on 2 separate occasions for a court-appointed SIT on Nupur Sharma simply for quoting the Sahih Bukhari. Number 1. Number 2, the same council then claims it is forum shopping. Tell me, how many times did Zubair seek bail from various different avenues, be it the Patiala court or then finally going all the way up to the Supreme Court? Did they ever approach the High Court in between? No. They went straight to the Supreme Court. But when Nupur Sharma approaches the Supreme Court, what did they say? You're very arrogant. Yeah, you think you are too good for a lower court and things like that. And these people were all celebrating all of that. I can show you tweets of TMC members celebrating all of this. The third aspect in all of this is the West Bengal Council today says this is a violation of the rule of law. I am appalled at the West Bengal Council's understanding of the rule of law. Tell me, how is anybody exhausting the rights given to them, which is to go to as many appeals as humanly possible as allowed by the law, is a violation of the rule of law? The rule of law means the consistency of judgment. The only inconsistency we saw was the same Justice Suryakant sitting in the same bench about a month back pronouncing judgment on a case that was not brought in front of him on the 1st of July against Nupur Sharma. It had nothing to do with this. Now, this same Justice Suryakant was sitting when Zubair was granted bail, bypassing several other forums, direct to the Supreme Court, where a certain judge was saying, why are you bringing this in front of me? I need to play with my grandchildren. I need to, the poor Zubair, he's sitting in jail. He needs to be out by 6 p.m. Please only type the operational parts. What care? What love? Amazing. But for Nupur Sharma, all of this is, and this was taken by this entire ecosystem to be a validation, a triumphal validation of their case. But when Nupur Sharma, it is all clubbed together.
Okay.
And mind you, the same party whose council is opposing this in this thing is saying it's a violation of the rule of law. How does this work?
This doesn't work. It doesn't fly.
It does not work.
It doesn't work.
Understand what the problem here is.
Yeah.
The problem here is we do not have anything realistically called settled law in this country. The Supreme Court forms something like between 13
we are not here for a legal debate. We are here right now to expose the hypocrisy. And I want to bring in Advocate Tala Aamir Rashdi. Advocate Rashdi, just explain to me, the same Supreme Court, when it denies Nupur, you exalt it. When it now gives relief to Nupur, you are saying that, oh, the judges are under pressure, this happened, that happened, make up your mind. When Zubair gets relief, great, lovely Supreme Court. And when the same principle is used to give Nupur bail, Supreme Court is under pressure. ये कैसे होगा? आप समझा सकते हैं?
I think, first of all, you need to clarify your own thoughts. You yourself is confused. At the very initial stage of the debate, you said that the orders of the Supreme Court were mystifying. To that extent, I do agree with you. But if you are seeking a clarification from my side, first of all, you need to clarify your own thoughts. On which side do you stand? Do you stand with the Supreme Court, or or are you still confused? Because you said the decisions were mystifying. I do. For me too. Today, the judgment given by the Supreme Court is.
I'll alleviate your confusion within 30 seconds.
It gives me.
When the observations came, I opposed them then. I will oppose them to my dying day. Okay? Today, I welcome the Supreme Court's order, but I do not welcome its silence. No, 1 second, please listen to me. I'm now telling you where I stand. There's no confusion in my mind. Confusion, aapke dimago mein.
Kangaroo courts, you quoted kangaroo courts, you quoted the CGI, you quoted some other benches, and
yeah.
Fiction is in my mind. Please, so you should make a stand. Now, I don't understand why is the Times now so obsessed with Mohammad Zubair.
I have made a stand. I have already come out and given you my stand. I am not, sir, देखिए, advocate साहब, देखिए, now you're advocating, no, one second.
But you are obsessed and the panel sitting here is
I am obsessed. Why shouldn't we be obsessed? Are you going to stop me from being obsessed about anybody? Why? As long as I'm not being prejudiced, it's fine. I'm only asking you to compare two issues. Why are you worried about, why are you worried about the comparison? Do you have something to hide? You answer.
You have seen, Rahul, if you've seen even the basics of alt news, you will know alt news runs entirely based on Times Now and Republic channel. Their entire 90% of their content runs off Times Now and this thing.
Mitra to the Supreme Court advocate. Now let me respond. Let me speak for 30 seconds. I've been hearing these.
Sir, you've been asking me questions. I've been responding. The roles have reversed.
You have responded. Okay, now let me respond. You were comparing. The complete panel sitting here was comparing Zubair and Nupur Sharma. First of all, Nupur Sharma is a fringe element, officially stated by the government of India, by the External Affairs Ministry, and by the BJP itself. And Zubair is a journalist. Nupur Sharma brought shame to the country. Zubair brought fame to the country. Now you are comparing a fringe element with a journalist.
There you go. Look at the bizarre argument tonight. Look at the bizarre argument.
Your own field of journalism. He's a colleague of yours. Zubair is a colleague.
He's not a journalist, sir. Not in my book.
He is a journalist.
You might be insisting he's a journalist. Doesn't make him a journalist.
The Supreme Court, the respectable Supreme Court, the most Supreme Court of the country quoted him as a journalist. No,
no, hang on. I don't have to agree with everything that the Supreme Court says, and that's the whole issue.
Are you going to? The thing that is the problem.
अरे भाई साहब, आपको तो democracy की कोई समझ ही नहीं है, तो हम क्या करें? How can we have a conversation with you, advocate साहब?
The panel is applauding today's decision of the Supreme Court, but the panel won't applaud the decision of July 1st of the Supreme Court. That's the hypocrisy. मैंने कहा hypocrisy की भी कोई सीमा होती है. आप बर्दाश्त तो करो, hypocrisy की भी कोई सीमा होती है. You're talking about double standard. This is double standard, my dear friend.
Amir Saab, the only people who are consistent here is us, by the way. We were always for giving relief to Nupur. Why are you against giving? No, 1 second. Let me ask you, why are you against giving relief to Nupur? No, advocate साहब, मेरी बात तो सुन लीजिए, sir.
That you are consistent.
Okay, can you listen to me? Then I wanted relief for Nupur. The Supreme Court denied it. Today, when they have given it, at least I'm saying, chalo, अच्छी बात है. I'm being consistent. I criticize. No, you don't want relief for Nupur.
Why are you so interested with Nupur Sharma?
Why shouldn't we want relief for a citizen, sir? No, 1 minute. Do you want her dead? Do you want her dead? Do you want her dead? Simple question. Do you want her dead? Advocate Saab, do you want her dead? Do you want her dead? Do you not want to get her relief so that she is killed, she is attacked, that her life is at risk? What is your, I'm asking you. So you don't want relief for her because you want her to be strung up, murdered, beheaded, is that what it is?
No, you must be pointing that, for me, she's a fringe element and she should be tried by the law of the nation.
So she has been. So now the law is saying, and you should be happy, aapko dar kya hai? नहीं, मेरी बात सुनिए आप.
Why is she not answering to the
Why then? No, 1 second. Advocate Saab, you have started shouting so much. Advocate Saab, you started shouting so much that you've lost control over your own chain of thought. You are constantly contradicting yourself. So hang on. This is a broad argument being made by Advocate Aamir Saab. Now, viewers, anyone with half a brain will wonder what he's saying. He says, I'm confused. No, I'm not. I wanted the Supreme Court to give her relief at the first instance, July 1.
Why?
The Supreme Court.
That is the question. Why?
Let me finish. I'm telling you, if you listen to me. See, sir, you're allowing yourself to get so excited. You love the sound of your own voice. You don't want to hear anybody else. So you will constantly be asking why. मेरी बात तो सुनिए आप. मेरी बात तो सुनिए साहब. We want her to get relief because, viewers, there are precedents under law which suggest that when there are multiple FIRs, they need to be clubbed. Number 1. Number 2, in this case, she is facing multiple death threats. She will be taken from one court of the land in different jurisdictions of this country where law and order is not uniform. Security Security, exactly. Security, you yourself say, sir, that Yogi state has bad law and order. So if she goes to Uttar Pradesh, she might be killed. She might be killed because the state may not be able to, 1 minute, because the state may not be able to protect her. So obviously there are inconsistent, there's inconsistent application of, excuse me, sir, stop shouting over me, let me finish. Advocate Saab, let me finish, please. So there is a danger to her life, viewers. The more she travels, the more the opportunity. The Supreme Court recognizes that danger. Unfortunately, as Dr. Ranganathan said, far too late. Far too late. It has now recognized it. God bless it. So she has got relief. The point is, viewers, and this is a question that I've asked both the political analyst on this show, Tausif Saab, and advocate Tahla Aamir, why are certain elements of our society opposing this relief to Nupur, while they batted for the same relief for Zubair? Is it appeasement politics? Is it because, viewers, they want Nupur to be perhaps hurt in some way, attacked in some way?
Now let me respond to
or do they want an extrajudicial process to kick in so that she's strung up and serves as a warning to somebody else? I don't know.
Now please let me respond to it.
Bataiye, sir.
You see, Rahul,
please let me clarify it let me make it very clear to you. There is no comparison in between Mohammad Zubair and Nupur Sharma.
Right.
आप समझिए इस बात को. मैं फिर से कह रहा हूँ. I want to state this to the viewers of the
both of them offended. Both of them accuse viewers of offending sensibilities of communities. I don't know what's the difference.
No.
Maybe, sir, one community is more valued in this country than others, and that's what you're trying to say. I don't want to get into an argument with you, sir. The number of... No, please, 1 second. If that was the case, lower his fader. Just, it's irritating and it's silly. Viewers, the same charges have been slapped against both. You judge a case by the charges that are slapped against the two individuals. You read the charges, give or take 1 or 2 sections of the law, it's a facsimile, which shows that the cases are absolutely the same. I end it there. The point is, the approach to the cases is different. The question is why? That question, viewers, I tried with all due honesty to get out of Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Aamir, but they're clearly not courageous enough to take a stand on principle. I want to move on, viewers. I want to move on because there's another very big story that has been capturing the national imagination. This is a story, viewers, of 2 comments, 7 years apart, by Aamir Khan, the celebrated actor. Yes, viewers. Barely 2 days ahead of the release of his film Laal Singh Chaddha, Aamir Khan has expressed his regret for criticizing India in 2015. His expression of regret comes on the back of a boycott call announced by filmgoers on social media ahead of the film's release. Many are upset. Many are upset that Aamir chose to suggest in 2015 that intolerance in India had risen to a great level and that his then wife was thinking of leaving India. Let's listen, viewers. Let's listen very clearly to what Aamir said back then and how he's prepared to express his regret for it now. What has changed? That's the fundamental question that we will ask. But first, listen to these 2 reactions.
Go and talk to Kiran. You know, Kiran and I have lived all our lives in India. For the first time, Kiran says, should we move out of India? Now, that's a disastrous and very big statement for Kiran to make to me. She fears for her child. She fears for, what the atmosphere around us will be. She feels scared to open the newspapers every day. So that does indicate that there is a sense of growing disquiet.
अगर मैंने किसी का दिल दुखाया है किसी चीज़ से तो मुझे उस बात का दुख है और मैं किसी का दिल नहीं दुखाना चाहता हूँ और I think बाकी अगर लोगों को जिनको फिल्म नहीं देखनी है तो मैं उस बात की इज्जत करूँगा क्या कर सकते हैं लेकिन मैं चाहूँगा कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग फिल्म देखें हमने बड़े मेहनत से फिल्म बनाई है और सिर्फ मैं नहीं हूँ फिल्म जो बनती है वो सैकड़ों लोगों के मेहनत से बनती है तो I hope people like it.
Let's open this up, viewers. Let's open this up. There are about 6 questions to be asked. Why is Aamir sacrificing sentiments expressed because of his elevated conscience in 2015 at the altar of commercial considerations? These are some questions that are being asked. If Aamir believed what he felt in 2015, why does he feel the need to regret? Is it because he was grandstanding then and is being penitent now? By not standing up for his beliefs, is Aamir emboldening the boycott lobby? There is a feeling that Aamir has been selective in his outrage against hate. That is, he was championing his cause of only victims from one community. Is this a fair observation? Did Muslim community call for bans on Vishwarupam, Mohammad the messenger of God, and beast? And at that time people welcomed it. The same ecosystem that is today saying, oh bichara Aamir, हम सबको उसकी फिल्म देखना जाना चाहिए, at that time was celebrating the fact that for the larger interest of unity of this country, these films, Vishwarupan, etc., should be boycotted, banned, etc. Aamir has said that banning a film isn't right, so then why is he emboldening the ban brigade now? These are some questions. Dr. Ranganathan, the first stab at the answers is yours. You're on mute, I think. You're on mute. Yeah, yes. Let's start again. Yes, you're on mute. Yes, yeah.
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 Am I audible now?
Indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Rahul, there are 2 issues here. One on which I will delve on briefly, and the other which is more philosophical and much more deeper, if I can say so, which is on this ever-present decreasing culture. I think both are important. Number one, now there is no doubt that Aamir was active and hypocritical in 2015 that made that atrocious comment on the basis of a lynching that happened for Muslims, while he ignored the many dozens of lynchings that the Muslim mobs committed. So he was being hypocritical. The second fact is, if he had mocked Islam to a fraction of what he, in his film PK, mocked Hinduism, there would be a million fatwas on his very head right now, through which he is talking. And the third is the fact that he went on and met in very visible, appreciative terms the wife of a Turkish dictator who was going on and on abusing India. He's never apologized for that, so his stand is very clear. But the point we have to understand is it about Aamir or is it about the cancel culture? And here I beg indulgence of a minute, because that's very important, more philosophical. Aamir to aate rahenge, jate rahenge, but what is more important is ki hame kaise behave karna hai. We have to accept, Rahul, that the cancel culture pioneered by the left and the Congress have now not only transgressed all boundaries of personal versus professional, but also beyond the grave. The right, unfortunately, has started to emulate the left. And the left is feeling the pinch because they don't like it when the shoe is on the other foot. I have always been against any kind of social and economic boycott when the reason for it is secondary or tertiary or plain impulsive anger. But remember, boycotts happen all the time and everyone does it, the left as well as the right. Many a times, yes, it can be a legitimate form of protest. For example, if the organization is blatantly communal or homophobic or racist, etc. On other occasions, it is bigotry, like the recent instance of the barbers of a Muslim majority village boycotting Dalit customers. Is that not a boycott? But in recent times, it is mostly because of the impetuous anger. Snapdeal by the right, Yatra by Times Now by the left. The left has cancelled Kangana in her films. And all actors and directors it thinks are right-leaning. Heck, the left and the Congress have called for your boycott more times than they have won elections. 2 issues here, very briefly. Number one, boycott, as I said, is a legitimate right of an individual. But I feel as a society, we will become monochromatic and cleansed of all diverse views if we stretch boycotting to its limit, that the left does. For example, I disagree with the views, if at all one can call them that, of Swara Bhaskar. But should I stop buying Harpic, for which she is the ambassador for? What's Harpic's fault? If Swara's views are irrational, illogical, laughable and pure propaganda, they must be saying, "Arey mujhe kyo toda?" And what is my toilet's fault? Tomorrow, if we don't like the views of Amitabh Bachchan, should we boycott administration of polio drops to our kids for which he is the ambassador? So we should look at it philosophically more than just boycotting or not boycotting one film by one selectivist or selective activist, Aamir Khan.
Well, very interesting, because Times Now doesn't, of course, endorse boycotts. It certainly cannot dissuade people from exercising their free will and giving the movie a miss if they don't think the actor is being genuine. Now, that is in the hands of the public. I want to bring in both Sanjay Jha as well as Tanveer Ahmed Saab, national spokesperson of the JDS. Tanveer bhai, aaj aapka, today you are very sympathetic towards Aamir Khan. But sir, this sympathy didn't extend to Kamal Hassan for Vishwarupam, or the maker of Mohammad, the messenger of God, the maker of the film Beast, or poor Taslima Nasreen, or several others. What's the difference? Can you explain? Or is it that Aamir has on many occasions criticized Mr. Modi, and therefore his criticisms, even if it's selective, are okay, but the others, because they criticized aspects that you hold very, very holy to you, you found difficult to defend, and therefore very easily gave in to the boycott call, like Satanic Verses of Salman Rushdie. Man, poor fellow, for so many years must have spent so much time, intellectual effort to write a book. Uska to aapne kooda kar diya, sir. He had to go into hiding, change his name. Poor man, feared for his life. No one said, let's lift the boycott. Indian society must not become what it thinks that the other side has become. No one said that. Why? I want to ask you, sir, because it's a question that's close to my heart.
Absolutely.
Tanveer bhai. Yes.
Rahul, let me just tell you, when Vishwarupam was released, Vishwarupam was released, I was sitting on a national television and the local television and asking people who have asked for a ban of Vishwarupam that they are like idiots. People have to go watch a movie, because I was the first one to go watch a movie. Second thing, regarding Aamir Khan, see, in the past we all know that Congress was absolutely very intolerant.
You called it BJP propaganda and said it should be boycotted and the makers should be boycotted. Kashmir files, bhul gaye, sir? Or should I make you jog your memory over Kashmir files?
Let me just tell you one thing. Kissa Kursi Ka, Andhi, a lot of movies, Congress was always standing and saying that ban that movie, ban
Kashmir
that actor,
files.
ban that movie. No, the Kashmir files, I'll come back to it. I'll come to it. But let me speak about Aamir Khan.
Okay.
Aamir Khan has absolutely been a great actor. He has contributed immensely by bringing the social evils of the society, whether it is a lot of movies of his. Sare Zameen Ke was absolutely fantastic. As we all know that Aamir Khan is a fantastic actor.
And
if at all he's coming on a national platform and apologizing for his mistake, I think we need to have a big heart to accept his apology. No. Kangana is my favorite. I've seen Queen about 5 times. Kangana is my favorite actor. But she's a stupid activist, so I'll just keep that aside. Aamir could also be a stupid activist. He made some stupid statement. We need to forgive him.
Right.
We need to really
Aamir Khan is a great, an activist who goes and has, hang on, a pro-rights activist, viewers, who has a tea, well-publicized tea with a dictator's wife, who is an Islamist. I don't know what is the height of stupidity anymore.
We all know Erdogan, going and having a cup of tea with Hitler or Erdogan's wife, I don't think, you would really buy their views. Just going and having a cup of coffee, cup of tea, absolutely makes you, makes you a person really buying to their statement. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It is not Aamir Khan alone. It is thousands of people who have really worked for this movie, and we have to honor their efforts. It is not about Aamir Khan alone.
No, so my problem is, sir, I'll tell you, then show them respect, stop groveling, show them respect, because tomorrow they might be acting in a movie that might get banned by the boycott brigade or might get boycotted. Now, don't give in to them. Then say, nahin, I will not apologize. You don't want to watch my movie, I don't care. But we will not give in and embolden this boycott brigade. And if you really believe that your conscience is what brought you to say what you said, how can you go against your conscience 7 years later, 2 days before a movie is to be released? Ye kaun sa, sir, खेल है, ये समझाइए जरा। 7 साल बाद आपको याद आया कि हमने गलती की।
उसने एक ही बात बताया था कि इट इज अ
ठीक है, इट्स ओके।
नहीं, गलती हो जाती है, इंसान से गलती हो जाती है।
7 साल बोला था कि
माय वाइफ टोल्ड अ डिजास्टर।
चलो हाँ, होश आ गए। सो फॉर 7 years that means he was behaving like a silly person. Okay, yes, Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in and I want to wrap this up. I'm running out of time. Sanjay Jhaji, I'm sorry. We got caught up in an earlier debate. I'm sorry about that. Very quickly, yes.
My short answer to your question will be, Rahul.
Short answer, yes, short answer. Yes, short answer.
Yeah, short answer.
Yeah.
Aamir Khan said nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong.
In fact, political parties ever since 2014 have said that and much more about where India's authoritarian.
So they lose the election. Some people don't go.
Oh,
some people don't
hear
go
me
and
out.
vote for them.
You can't give so much time to Anand and not even give me 30 seconds. I'm giving you two data points.
Sanjay, please don't.
I'm giving you two data points.
You know, there have been times
since 2015.
Come on.
Since 2015, 9.5 lakh Indians have left India, which include $25,000 denominated millionaires. If you think everybody has left India because of tax havens and avocado and goat cheese, you're sadly mistaken.
Sir, can you just answer me a simple question, Sanjay Jhaji?
By the way,
what Salman Rushdie said in the satanic verses, has it not been echoed by a large number of people? By that yardstick, Salman Rushdie was right also.
Sirji, can you ignore the lynching, love jihad, ghar wapsi?
There you go. You see, viewers, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Aamir Khan should not apologize.
Here it comes. Yes, so he shouldn't. Why is he apologizing? Is it because of commercial considerations?
I don't think he is. He's only requesting people to see his film.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, I don't think you have read. He says that, listen, if my statements have caused anyone any hurt, I regret them. That is as close to an apology as anyone can get in the English language. I leave it at that, sir. I leave it at that. I've run out of time.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them. I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now.
To commemorate 75 years of Indian independence, PM Modi launched Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. And yes, the campaign is exactly what it sounds like. Under this, the centre aims to see the tricolour hoisted atop more than 20 crore houses across the country. The aim of the campaign is to motivate each and every citizen of the country to bring the Tiranga home and to hoist it to mark Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now, in order to make sure that Tiranga is within the reach of each and every citizen of this country, the centre had to make some amendments in the Flag Code 2002. Questioning the amendments, the Congress slammed the BJP and said that the amendments in the Flag Code were specially made to favour China. Later, Congress further alleged that centre is now trying to sell the national flag. But before we delve deeper into this, let's first have a look at the original Flag Code and the amendments made to it. The centre has amended certain rules of the Indian Flag Code 2002 to aid the launch of Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. The centre, in the first amendment, allowed the use of polyester apart from cotton, wool, silk and khadi for making the hand-spun, hand-woven and machine-made flags. Earlier, the use of polyester and machine-made flags was not allowed. The next amendment came on July 20th, which allowed the display of Tiranga in open and also said that it can be hoisted day and night. Earlier, the flag was allowed to be hoisted only from sunrise to sunset, irrespective of the weather conditions. The amendment made by the centre in December 2021, which allowed the use of machine-made and polyester flags, is being widely criticized by the Congress. The Congress accuses BJP of favouring China by allowing the imports of polyester. Besides the opposition, some khadi weavers and some activists have also protested against the amendment brought by the centre in the Flag Code 2002. The Karnataka Khadi Udyog, for instance, has halted its operations and have also demanded a nationwide protest. The idea behind Har Ghar Tiranga is to invoke the feeling of patriotism in the hearts of the people and to promote awareness about the national flag. The centre believes that by bringing the national flag home collectively, it will become symbolic of not only an act of personal connection to the Tiranga, but also an embodiment of our commitment to nation building. Even though the opposition has criticized Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to the core, the BJP, on the other hand, has stuck to its nationalism agenda. While a political slugfest ensued over the use of Tiranga, the people of the country are dipped in patriotic fervour to celebrate the day. Even as the campaign gets criticized, the idea and the main aim of the centre behind this campaign was to instill the people.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the last few days, we've heard many narratives about the united opposition against the BJP come 2024. We heard it even in Bihar in the last 24 hours. But while the opposition readies that plan, has Prime Minister Modi metaphorically killed 3 birds with 1 stone? I say this, ladies and gentlemen, because today the Prime Minister launched an unsparing attack on 3 of BJP's rivals, Congress, JDU and the Aam Aadmi Party. He set the stage for a fierce political fight with his sharpest attacks on all those parties. Listen in.
अभी हमने 5 अगस्त को देखा है कि कैसे काले जादू को फैलाने का भरपूर प्रयास किया गया। ये लोग सोचते हैं कि काले कपड़े पहनकर उनकी निराशा, हताशा का काल समाप्त हो जाएगा, लेकिन उन्हें पता नहीं है कि वो कितनी ही झाड़ फूंक कर ले, कितना ही काला जादू कर ले, अंधविश्वास कर ले, जनता का विश्वास अब उन पर दोबारा कभी नहीं बन पाएगा। लोगों में राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए शॉर्टकट अपनाकर समस्याओं को टाल देने की प्रवृत्ति होती है, वो कभी समस्याओं का स्थायी समाधान नहीं कर सकते। इसलिए ही मैं कहता हूं कि शॉर्टकट अपनाने से शॉर्ट सर्किट अवश्य होता है। अगर राजनीति में ही स्वार्थ होगा तो कोई भी आकर पेट्रोल डीजल भी मुफ्त देने की घोषणा कर सकता है। ऐसी स्वार्थ भरी नीतियों से देश के ईमानदार टैक्स पेयर का बोझ भी बढ़ता ही जाएगा। अपने राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए ऐसी घोषणाएं करने वाले कभी नई टेक्नोलॉजी पर निवेश नहीं करेंगे।
Raking up Congress's last Friday protest against the centre, Prime Minister Modi said that some are desperate enough to turn out black magic as a weapon for politics. He didn't name the grand old party, but his comments made it clear who he was pointing out at. Congress leaders lined up to rebut the Prime Minister, from tweeting a picture of the Prime Minister donning a black kurta to claiming that he's rattled with them and their protests. The Congress asked the Prime Minister about his black money promise. Listen in.
And because of price rises, when people are dying, committing suicides, to raise their voice when in the parliament we were not allowed to discuss, we had no option but to wear black clothes and to give that message. But here you can see, इसको देख लीजिए, इसे काला जादू कहते हैं, इसे अंधश्रद्धा कहते हैं, इसे अविश्वास कहते हैं, और ये काले कपड़े पहन के नदी में रह के, पानी में रह के, हाथ में माला रख के ये जो कर रहे हैं, ये खुदगर्जी के लिए इसको जादू टोना कहते हैं, इसे काला जादू कहते हैं। हमने तो ऐसा नहीं किया, ये मोदी जी कर रहे थे। सो कथनी और करनी में बहुत फर्क है।
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who faced the Prime Minister's wrath for announcing freebies in poll-bound Gujarat, responded in equal measure. The Aam Aadmi Party convener said free education does not burden taxpayers. Listen in.
टैक्सपेयर के साथ धोखा इससे नहीं होता कि हम उनके बच्चों को अच्छी और फ्री शिक्षा देते हैं। टैक्सपेयर के साथ धोखा इससे नहीं होता कि हम देश के लोगों का फ्री में अच्छा इलाज कराते हैं। टैक्सपेयर के साथ धोखा तब होता है जब अपने दोस्तों के कर्जे माफ करते हैं। 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए के अगर कर्जे माफ नहीं किए जाते तो मैं समझता हूं आज देश इस तरह से घाटे की स्थिति में नहीं होता। हमें दूध दही के ऊपर जीएसटी लगाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। अगर जनता को जितना टैक्स लेती है उससे जनता को ही सुविधाएं नहीं देंगे और सारी सुविधाएं अपने दोस्तों को देंगे, ये तो धोखा हो जाएगा।
So the legitimate question we're asking on the Newshour tonight: 1 punch and 3 rivals knocked down? That's the question and that's the debate. Prime Minister Black Magic Jive. That's the hashtag and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, National Spokesperson and Member of Parliament of the BJP, joining us in just a bit. Subrashta, author, The Churn. Suhail Seth, author and columnist. Riju Datta, National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. Reena Gupta, National Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. But my first question goes to Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. And Tehseen Poonawala, I want to ask you, shortcut? The Prime Minister talked about shortcut and we saw that in full play in Bihar. And I love the Congress party. You know, they know when an opportunity comes their way, they just pick it up. In Maharashtra, tail-ender party, well, you went and sat with your Bandgala, took the oath, became a part of the Mahavikas Agadi. Now, slight opportunity in Bihar, again partner number 3, junior than the party which is at number 3 and becomes the chief ministerial candidate in Bihar. The Congress is ready to do that. आपके सूट हमेशा से ले रहते हैं और shortcut में आप पहुंच जाते हैं, and you're also wearing black today. Is that the black magic that you use for your shortcut, which becomes short circuit sometimes in Maharashtra like situations?
Namaskar Navika ji, thank you for having me on the show. Namaskar to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. And the choice of black is absolutely deliberate. I hope to create some magic on your show and to bust some myths. So why you, Navika ji, I want to tell the present union government whose representative is here, it is not that the opposition is doing black magic. Article 51 makes it duty bound that we promote scientific temper. It is the policies of the Vartaman Sarkar that is Kali. It is their niyat that is Kali. And let me give you a couple of examples. It is black when you have bodies floating on the Ma Ganga and you get up in parliament and you say nobody died due to lack of oxygen. It is black when you pass the farm laws, which are black laws, and 700 farmers were martyred, and then the Prime Minister and the Agriculture Minister say in Parliament, we don't have data. It is Black Day on 8th November 2016, when due to the ill-fated demonetization, the economy of the country shrank, and people were martyred and people died, and the economy turned topsy-turvy. That is black. The intentions of this government are black. It was black to get ISI to Pathankot. It was black to continue shooting when our soldiers were martyred in Pulwama. It is this government that is black. And I want to end by just quoting one thing that somebody the Prime Minister does not like very much, but was perhaps the greatest statesman this country has seen, Pandit Nehru, and he said in Tryst with Destiny that the objective of India is to fight poverty, to fight inequality, to fight disease. And if governments are fighting that, and the Prime Minister calls that black magic, I can only feel bad for the black intentions of this present government.
Well, Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, would you want to respond to Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla?
Could repeat what he's saying and said something about the Prime Minister or something like that. I couldn't hear him because I just got connected, please. Can you?
Yeah, he basically said that, you know, it is this government and its deeds that are black. No point pointing towards the opposition and the Congress party for the black magic comment that the Prime Minister made.
Well, what the Prime Minister said, I can understand there is a problem in understanding what the Prime Minister says, but it's very natural for the opposition not to understand what actually is happening in the country. Having said that, on 5th of August, when Parliament was on, we saw all the members of Parliament come in a black. So they came in a black inside Parliament, they inside the House. They walked out, they shouted, they screamed, and they went out. They went out on the streets and they were wearing black. And there was a comment made by me then also that men who think the darker part of the life is जो लोग काले कारनामों से घिरे हों तो शायद काला कपड़ा पहनना पसंद करें. So I was a common man. I made this statement in Parliament. It went around. But the Prime Minister has gone a step beyond and has said that what are they up to? There are serious issues in this country. He talked about freebies being given and that freebies have resulted in crises like in Sri Lanka and maybe many other places. He's talked about something that these people, instead of coming on issues which actually have to build up the nation, they are going black. Possibly he said a black magic, or they think they can win this country by doing something which. But it was a connotation or a statement made by the Prime Minister saying that they have something common to black, and not that black is a bad color, but they have something mind which has gone negative. They cannot contribute to the country, and that is what they are trying to propagate, or maybe say hide something under their skin and say that under the garb and say that so black had that connotation when the Prime Minister spoke. But of course, whatever the Prime Minister speaks, and he speaks in depth, but it actually hurts people who may have a background like that, who may be thinking in that, and the Prime Minister exposes them. Rarely he does that, but when he does that, people get upset, and they think another fact has been revealed by the Prime Minister.
Well, so let me get in Mr. Riju Datta. Riju Datta, shortcut causes short circuits. That's what the Prime Minister said. Another shortcut, apart from Bihar, that is evident in recent times, is the shortcut to getting a job in Bengal. And we've all seen those bundles of notes and the gold and the biscuits and the big 500-gram kadas that came out. You know, while pointing fingers at the BJP government at the center, saying that they haven't provided enough jobs and the economy is in a pathetic situation, do you think today the Trinamool Congress can actually look within and say what they did in Bengal with the SSE, you know, job scandal that has broken out? Can you actually look at the people of West Bengal in the eye and say, you're better than anybody else?
Navika ji, I'm going to start off by what you said, shortcut. I want to ask, there is the parliamentarian here, why was the parliament closed 4 days early? Is that not a shortcut? Is the government not answerable to the people of this country via the parliament? Question number one. They are talking about shortcuts. The Prime Minister wanted to change the DP. Nitish Kumar changed the government in Bihar. उनको इतना मिर्ची क्यों लग रहा है? The shortcut from Uttarakhand to Arunachal Pradesh, from Goa to Madhya Pradesh, now Maharashtra. They have taken shortcuts where they have destroyed the mandate of the people who have selected those ruling governments. Now coming to Bengal, if you talk about corruption, now my question is, when all the opposition parties are investigated by central agencies, why the leader of opposition of Bengal, Subhendu Adhikari, who's mentioned in ED and CBI charge sheet, is sitting on the lap of the Home Minister when he comes to visits in Bengal? Why? You have to answer these questions. And you are talking about freebies and all the other things. I am telling you, our MP, Mr. Jawahar Sarkar, on the floor of the parliament, asked that for 100 days work, why haven't you paid Bengal any money? And you know what is the reply that we have received? The reply that we have received is that the central government has not paid one farthing to Bengal, not even one farthing, zero. So when they do not pay people for their hard work, they take shortcuts in making sure that the governments that have been elected by the people are being destroyed. They destroy the federal structure. It becomes very rich when it comes from them. And talking about corruption, one last question. When everybody is being investigated, Mr. Amit Shah's son, Mr. Jai Shah, in the last 8 years, his business has gone up by 6,500%. Will they care to comment on that before putting the magnifying glass on the opposition? So it's very holy coming from them, but I will only tell them this, कि जो कांच के घरों में रहते हैं वो दूसरों पे कंकर नहीं फेंका करते सर. And I feel only bad for one person in BJP, and that is Mr. Fadnavis. Mr. Nitish Kumar became Chief Minister 8 times in 20 years. ये अभी भी शायद कहीं शायद कभी में बैठे हैं. तो सर बंगाल छोड़िए, पहले बिहार को संभालिए.
Suhail said, why is the opposition in, such great distress and anger? Because suddenly, they're not able to respond to questions raised about the bundles of money, questions raised about the fact that, shortcuts have become the fashion, and the Congress party, not one answer from Tehseen Poonawalla on how come their dress code is so much, applicable. They don't win seats in any state, but they're always ready to join governments whenever there is a shortcut that is happening in the change of government. And Suhail said, which part of the Prime Minister's speech or his comments did you find wrong, illogical, or not based on facts?
So let me start with Martin Luther King. He famously said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can. We have suddenly become a country, it's not only the opposition, we have a problem for every solution. And we believe that by identifying problems, we are solving them. We are not. I have always said this, Navika, including on your show, the right to protest is a fundamental right and must rest with whoever wants to protest. But you cannot thwart development. You cannot thwart progress at the cost of protesting because you want to protest. If you want to protest, there must be a solution at the end of that protesting tunnel. A. B. Tehseen talked about demonetization, all that. History is a country with no citizens. We can keep going on and on. We can take you back to Nehru. Mr. Modi will take you back to Indira Gandhi. That's not what this country needs. This country needs two things. Number one, Riju, he very importantly said this corruption versus that corruption. But Riju, you're a bright man. Even you can't have competitive corruption. Corruption anywhere with any party must be condoned. And if Shivshankar Adhikari has crossed parties and been forgiven, that too is unforgivable, in my mind. Having said that, I believe the Prime Minister has made three fundamental statements. Don't read too much into his thing about black magic. Obviously, it was said with more sarcasm than, with reality. I mean, even he knows that the Congress or other people are not going to stand outside Parliament and, get into black magic. But there are two important points. Number one, we have started confusing welfare in this country with freebies. Welfare is for people who need it. Freebies is when you insidiously bribe the voter to vote for you. When you give freebies to people who don't either need it or don't deserve it. A. B. everyone in this country, most political parties declare a vulnerable section only 12 months before an election. Before and after, that section remains unvulnerable for some strange reason. So this culture of freebies is going to hurt and hurt badly. The third point, everyone knows that the states make up the union. Tomorrow, if a state is financially distressed because of the freebie culture, it actually harms the union. And we have seen global examples of that. You've seen what happened in Venezuela. You're seeing it in Sri Lanka. We don't want a repeat of this in our country. Finally, Parliament is the temple of democracy. That is where solutions need to be found. If Parliament has been shut 4 days in advance, that to my mind is not on, and that needs course correction or at least an explanation from the government as to why Parliament was curtailed. I totally agree. But at the same time, Riju, tell me, of what use is a Parliament when everything happens outside Parliament? You know, if you want to protest under Gandhiji's statue and want to solve India's problems under Gandhiji's statue, then why take a salary? Why stand for an election? Why even bother about Parliament? So while you rightly say, why was Parliament curtailed by 4 days? My question as a common citizen is, of what use is Parliament if nothing's going to happen in Parliament? And then to say that the BJP used to disrupt it, which is why we are disrupting, two wrongs don't make a right, Riju. Even you know that. You cannot have a situation where we use fundamental historical mistakes to justify the mistakes that we wish to make. It has to stop. This country needs progress. This country needs the impoverished sections of our society to rise with equanimity and with equality. That is what our country needs. Our country doesn't need political egos coming in the way of personal and, national development. And my point is, irrespective of which political party it is, we've got to stop this freebie culture. The Supreme Court has appointed a committee. I hope that committee makes some serious recommendations, which are then actually enshrined in the government's way of working. Until that happens, each state will compete for giving freebies and not for providing development.
Well,
each state will look at bribing voters rather than respecting voters.
Right to respond, since you were named, before I get in Reena Gupta. Riju Datta.
Yes, I'll just quickly answer. You know, Swelji, personally I'm a big fan of yours, but you have made three very valid points and I'll answer them one by one. You said, what is the use of a parliament when the opposition is protesting outside? Now, who benefits if the parliament is not functioning? The government benefits, because the government is answerable to the people of the country if the parliament does not function. So it is obviously not in our way to disrupt the parliament. And if you talk about the central government, they have brute majority. They pass the farm laws with brute majority. They repeal the farm laws with brute majority.
But Riju, with the brute majority, Amar Bhai, Riju, Amar Bhai, brute majority ta ora to churi koreni. Brute majority to they won. Apniyo chitun. Aap Mohammad di jeete chen.
Correct. Correct. So it is all about winnability. Thank you, sir. Now, second, when Navika ji was pointing out, and I completely agree with Swelji, that every kind of corruption should be rooted out and brought to book. Now, similarly, now we have suspended Partho Chatterjee by giving the people the benefit of doubt. But I will like to remind the viewers of this platform that Mr. Amit Shah had to get a clean chit from the Supreme Court when he was investigated by the CBI, but he was a member of the BJP.
But he went to court.
But we have already given the benefit of the people and thrown Mr. Partho Chatterjee out until proven innocent.
Yeah, so what are you saying? So what are you saying? So the investigations will happen. Nobody has declared him guilty. But the fact is, you also can't deny that there were those bundles of notes that were found. It did pop up everybody's eyes, and questions will be asked of you. So what is so out of turn about it? But the really big question, and Reena Gupta, I want to ask you this: there is no free lunch. That's what Milton Friedman said. Everybody's got to pay for something. There is no free lunch. It doesn't come. Everything has a price tag. It depends on when you pay, how you pay, whether it's hidden or whether it shows, but there is no free lunch. So, Reena Gupta, when the Prime Minister raises the questions about freebies, why is the Aam Aadmi Party so incensed with that question? Because it is a concern globally, We've seen Sri Lanka, we've seen Venezuela, we've seen other countries falling down as far as their economies are concerned. And we've seen the GSDP of several states which is in the red because they haven't been able to pay and they are indebted and in a debt trap. I want to ask you, Reena Gupta, why are we almost coming out and justifying freebies when it's bad economics all the way?
So Navika, first of all, I have a strong disagreement with the term freebie. There is nothing called freebie. Each one of us pays taxes, whether it's direct taxes or it's indirect taxes. No government is giving anything out of their own pocket. And to even say ki free fund mein khana khilaya, I think that is a big insult. That's point number one. Point number two. So the way the structure is, the states have some taxes and the federal government has taxes. And after the GST regime, most of the taxes are centralized. So the central government is collecting more and more revenue. The shareable pool of taxes has gone down. As a result of that, the states have very limited resources to plan their schemes and plan their budgets. Now, you have to leave it to the state how fiscally responsible they are. And I will start with Delhi, where we've had our government for 7 years now. When Delhi government was elected, the Aam Aadmi Party government was elected, the state budget was 31,000 crores. Today, the state budget is 78,000 crores. Even though we have given free electricity, free water, world-class health, world-class education, free ride for women in the buses, all of this. How has this been done? This has been done because we have leaked corruption. And I want to tell you, viewers, the example of Sri Lanka that we keep quoting, I have studied Sri Lanka very closely. The reason Sri Lanka is in bad shape is because there was crony capitalism, there was the Rajapaksa family which was basically squandering away all the resources, and we are seeing the same thing in our country. If you look at the latest data, 10 lakh crores of loans have been waived off. Why is this not a freebie? Why is corporate loan waive off not a freebie? I want to ask you. For 11,000 crores, the Modi government changed the corporate taxation rate. As a result of that, we lost 6 lakh crore in corporate revenue. Why is that not a freebie? In spite of doing all of this, the economy is in such bad shape. The unemployment is at the lowest. Every year, 1.2 million youth come into the job market. 1.2 million youth. And there were 30 million youth already looking for jobs in 2019, Navika. This is a situation which is almost like a, it's almost at a stage where youth have stopped looking for jobs because they know there are no jobs. This is a very volatile situation, and as a country, we are not going to progress. Let me tell you, there is enough. Let me just last thing.
Valid questions raised by Reena Gupta. Would you want to respond to her argument about the write-off of loans that she talks about? Though, if economics is looked at, Reena Gupta, you'd look at the fact that when loans are given, provisioning is also made, and the exercise that the government has been doing and banks have been doing is to clean up the bad accounting that was happening earlier. The loans were not being repaid even earlier. The cleanup has happened because what's not going to come, you are at least being realistic and saying it's not coming, and therefore that rising NPA or write-off that you're saying, it's a fallacious number that you're looking at. But
not at all, Navika. I can explain.
You don't
Navika.
agree? You don't agree?
Myself.
You don't agree with that?
I don't agree.
That's the principle?
No, I don't agree, Navika. You look at the electoral bonds that the BJP has received.
Now you're jumping to you want to compare apples and oranges. We can debate this till the cows come home. But let me get in Rajiv Pratap Rudy. Because you've raised questions on the freebies by the government versus freebies by the state government. So Rajiv Pratap Rudy, respond to Reena.
I was hearing her, and of course, recently I read it in the newspapers and that there was an excise policy which was brought in Delhi and which got about 8,000 to 10,000 crores. And there were serious observations, and the same state government, which claims to have increased the revenue model to 70,000 crores, had to rush back and change the entire policy because this was done to favor few people. Of course, there was no corruption in that, but the state government decided to undo the policy, which was supposed to get them 10,000 crores. I don't think this is a story which is very old. It happened in Delhi about 10 days or 15 days ago. But that we find no mention here because the state government is the most intelligent. Delhi government, our government is the most intelligent government. And it similarly had made a lot of announcements in Punjab. Please go and find out what is happening in Punjab. Punjab, they got the chair because it was their freebies, of course, which they announced, but this was anger against the Akalis and the Congress. But nonetheless, today, please go to Punjab and find out what they had said, what the people are saying, and what the freebies and what Suhail said is exactly that if it is welfare, it's all right. But if it is for politics, then of course it's a matter of great concern, and that is what has been raised today. When you talk about the economics of NPA, I need to, and I would request Navika, please get all the economists, or the political economists from Aam Aadmi Party and from the TMC, and let's have a full debate on what's happening in India, what this government did, what the previous governments did, how are the states performing today, how is the central government supporting the states, what is the central share, and how this mop-up in the central share is being shared more than 65 to 70% with the states. We need to come back on figures. It's not a matter of mere rhetoric. But of course, making a sentence and then keeping quiet, as she will not mention what happened on the excise policy in Delhi.
Give me a chance to respond, Mr.
Which everyone had to go in a huddle. Okay. So I'm not here to...
There was no rhetoric. I only talked about facts.
I did not say anything. Okay, it was not a rhetoric. It
only
was
facts.
Please, it was a fact. It was an academic discussion, and I'm sure it was wonderful. But there are many more facts which we can also ask. So trying to tom-tom a policy which possibly a state has to do, and there is a national policy which the central government, with inflation under control, with abundance of foreign reserves, with the exports growing, with the agriculture production growing, with the fruit production growing, it's all in the positive. But it's all, you look at the glass is half empty or half full. I'm sure you are in politics. And the desperation to survive politics would always be there.
Fair point. Let me get in Subrashta ji. And Subrashta ji.
Can I respond, please, Navika? You must give me a chance to respond.
Okay. All right. Respond.
So, Navika, the Bharatiya Janata Party government has ruled in Gujarat for 27 years, right? You look at the Gujarat finances, Gujarat budget. It's, according to the CAG, it has 7 lakh crore of debt. In spite of all this, they went ahead and bought an airplane for the Chief Minister for 170 crore. How is that not a freebie? You look at the Human Development Index of Gujarat, it's one of the lowest in the country. So, this is one model for 27 years.
Then in that case, Reena Gupta ji, you should also respond to the question that has been raised by the LG on why the CAG paragraphs against your government haven't even been published or responded to. Then we can get into that question also. Would you want to respond to that? Would you want to respond to the charges against your government on the excise policy, which really has been rolled back? Why was it rolled back if there was nothing wrong with it? Then we can talk all about, all of these issues as well.
The CAG has said that Delhi state finances are one of the best managed state finances in the country. And this CAG has said 5 years in a row, Navika, not the first time. And even in Punjab, Navika, we inherited a very bad financial system from the Akalis and the Congresses. But just in 3 months, Navika, the revenue collection, which at the same time last year was 15,000 crores, is 21,000 crores, Navika. There is no dearth of resources in this country. But for 75 years, the two parties that have looted this country, that is the reason why...
No dearth of resources in this country. Subrashta ji, no dearth of resources in this country. Do you agree with Reena Gupta and all the parties before the Aam Aadmi Party came in were conning the people of this country?
Yeah, actually, Reena should have a conversation with Atishi Marlena in the party
and then perhaps solve this ideological issue. According to Reena, there is no, resourcelessness in the country, and Atishi's entire ideological premise, and I hope Aam Aadmi Party's entire ideological premise is based on a very anarchist model, which prima facie believes that there are a lot of resources in the country, but they are unequally distributed, but a couple of them have like usurped it, and I don't want to get into the whole Marxist philosophy at this point in time. So this is an ideological tussle, sadly, for which Aam Aadmi Party has clarity on no issues, neither ideological nor policy. Let me break a couple of myths that Reena has been trying to propagate from day one, not just on this show, but shows after shows. In Delhi, there is nothing called free electricity. All right, and even if people who consume 200 units and are supposedly given free electricity, they have been facing such rampant power cuts. People who pay through their nose to get electricity also are not the ones who enjoy electricity at a considerable pace. Half of the time, Delhi is under power crisis. Reena wouldn't want to acknowledge that. She lives in a Lala land where a couple of Aam Aadmi Party karyakartas would tell her that we are doing a fantastic job. With respect to water, correct me if I'm wrong, Navika ji, but in April, as late as April 2022, your channel and your network, in fact, covered South and East Delhi situation, where residents complained, areas after areas filed logistical complaints with the Delhi government with respect to contaminated water. This was not even when, the onslaught of monsoon was there. This is April. We are talking about a very pristine weather where water contamination shouldn't be an issue. These are issues that Reena just wants to brush under the carpet because that's the classic style of Aam Aadmi Party. For all her pontifications on what Punjab has, the kind of problems that it had historically, they all never came up during the election promises that they made. And questions will be asked of them because apparently Congress and BJP are the most corrupt political parties in India, and they are the ones who are the pristine, glory. They have been divinely ordained to sort of wipe out everything that is wrong with this country and the system. So questions will be asked of them. Why did you dupe the people? Why did you not tell the people of Punjab that, this is the legacy that we have inherited, and with this legacy, whatever we are promising right now, we'll all put it under the back burner, and we'll claim to you that, well,
on our promises.
Reena, I'm not yet done, and this is not your chance. And this is not, I'm sorry you're not doing a press conference, Reena. Reena, I'm sorry, Navika ji, I cannot, because I never interrupted this lady when she spoke twice.
Yeah, make your point. Make your point, Subrasha ji.
Look, Aam Aadmi Party really needs to get its house in order. We as residents of Delhi and as a voter from Delhi, let me tell you, Reena, I don't understand what Aam Aadmi Party stands for, either ideologically or in terms of policy matters. Please tell me if you have any guts and gumption, and if you really believe in integrity. Please tell us, and we, as I'm a political consultant, I also do a lot of data analysis. Let me conduct a survey of 1 lakh residents in Delhi and tell you what they feel about the electricity and water situation.
But the fact
Take this as a challenge. Accept it. And I will share with you how we do the randomized sampling and how we conduct
It's the point Suhail said made about Bengal, about Riju Datta. That after all, brute majority is what you talked about, the BJP. Well, they won the elections. Similarly, Aam Aadmi Party wins elections. And that's why they're governing Delhi, something that the BJP doesn't do. But that's not the debate tonight. The debate tonight is about, are we going to debate these issues on policy, the concerns of this country, have a common platform to discuss whether, what is the definition of a freebie? And is it not true that Suhail said that when elections come, there are these announcements that happen from many political parties, but definitely from the Aam Aadmi Party, which promised a lot of free things ahead of the Punjab elections, now doing the same in the Gujarat elections. So why should it not be called a freebie then?
So you've raised a very important point. Our democracy in the current form in certain economic areas is flawed. To paraphrase what Shakespeare said in Julius Caesar, the fault, dear Brutus, lies not in our stars but in ourselves. We are also to blame, Navika. We continue to fall for the bait of freebies. I've always said India is the capital of freedom fighters. We fight for anything that's free. We don't recognize that actually we are damaging the same very people that we wish to protect. Now, you tell me, when there is a difference, what happened during COVID and those 80 crore people who were helped with free rations, there was a need for them to be helped. If people are being helped in Bengal or in Delhi because they are impoverished or they need that, that is fair. But you cannot make inducements out of promises or promises into inducements, because then you're doing two things. You are insulting the intelligence of the voter, and number two, you're insulting the fiscal responsibility which has been invested in you. And would you want that? Finally, Navika, on this particular aspect, I've heard everyone. It is not my case that someone's competitive, benefit is better than someone else's. The point is, if the political system doesn't come together on this issue, we will all be in trouble. It doesn't matter whether it's Bengal or Delhi or Andhra. We will all be in trouble. So there needs to be some unanimity on how do we address this culture, whether you call it welfare or freebies, in a more serious manner. The point that Reena made about the GST and, the shareable taxation, the fact is that your people are also sitting on the GST Council. There are places to raise these issues. But to protest for protest's sake and then say that things are not happening, that is an illogical
Parliament. These issues not raised in the GST Council, and that is the bane. And the question is, everybody finds a shortcut, and you can't take it away from any political party. The BJP has done it, the Congress has done it, there are other parties that have done it, and today the JDU has done it. I want to ask you, Tehseen Poonawalla, shortcuts have become the way of life, whether it is shortcuts to topple governments and then go and swear in quickly, or it is a shortcut to win elections through the freebie route, or it is just shortcuts to try and damage and try and say, oh, we made a front, now we are all going to take on Narendra Modi in 2024. I want to ask you, Tehseen Poonawalla, is the Bihar formula a result of a shortcut because Nitish Kumar wants to be the prime ministerial candidate for 2024? Where does that leave other political parties? And because that debate will never be settled, do you think debates like the economy of the country, the freebie culture, what is the real cost of this, what about employment, what about improving infrastructure, will these issues ever be top of the mind for political parties to debate, have a consensus and have a proper national policy for the people of India, the same people you actually swear you represent in Parliament?
Just want to make one thing absolutely clear, and I'll take the liberty of saying this for everyone in opposition. Nobody has a personal grudge against Mr. Narendra Modi ji.
Oh yes.
But देश को बचाना है तो भाजपा को भगाना है. That's very important.
Personal grudge नहीं है, लेकिन मोदी को भगाना है.
Please allow me to finish. Nobody has a personal grudge, but देश को बचाना है तो भाजपा को भगाना है. Let me explain. Sohail said, quoted Martin Luther King, and he said it is only light that can drive away darkness, and I agree with him, except that this government, this present union government is like a black hole. It is so dense, Sohail, so dense that there is no room for light. And this government's policies have sucked everything inside, including the economy, and has shrunk the economy of the country. For the first time in 45 years, you're seeing the highest unemployment. Therefore, it is fundamental that you stand up to Mr. Modi's policies. We're not standing up to Mr. Modi, the person. The policies, and let me give you one example of the policy before I end. Mr. Modi, when was questioned on the Human Development Index of Gujarat, says, and I quote him, women in Gujarat are anemic, not because his government has failed, because Gujarat is lower on Human Development Index, because they are into fashion and don't want to drink milk. And that is what we are standing up against. When we fight Mr. Modi, we are fighting against a crony capitalist, a person who encourages crony capitalism. We believe that welfare is the right of every single citizen. Every single citizen must get decent health care, education, just like Sohail said.
You also talked about eradication of poverty. Well, that was the promise, of governments of the Congress Party in the 60s and the 70s. Poverty hasn't gone away. Poverty hasn't gone away. So then, should people also question the Congress Party कि कब से हमको बेवकूफ बना रहे हो? That's a question that will be asked of you, Subrasha ji.
I'll answer that in one line. During the UPA years, 24 crore people
Yes.
were pulled out of
So,
poverty.
Navika ji, two
Mr.
quick
Modi is
points.
not 20
One
crore
fact
people
check which I'll bring in later. Look, the opposition may say that they don't have a personal grudge against Modi, but the kind of language that has been used in the past and continues to be used, the way in which the opposition shuns any debate on the floor of the House, the way in which the opposition has taken politics completely out from the parliament and onto the streets, shows pretty much that they don't just have a personal grudge against the Prime Minister. They actually are plotting something behind his back as well. That's point number one. Number two, let me just do a fact check. In Gujarat, the problem of sickle cell anemia, not just Gujarat, in all tribal areas of the country, sickle cell anemia is a real issue and no country in the world has been able to solve it. It's a genetic issue, which is why when we can't have a loose discussion on anemic women in Gujarat, especially because they come from tribal communities in a way like this. If Congress is so brilliant about solving all issues pertaining to the tribals in this country, they have Chhattisgarh with them. Pray solve the sickle cell anemia issue and bring it out in front of the people and present the model.
That's really getting specific, but the question tonight is it really about shortcut? Is it really about a total breakdown between the treasury benches and the opposition benches? Is it that political parties have just adopted an attitude of talking in rhetoric and just forgetting the realities and policy making, which is the real job of governments and oppositions to do for the people of India? That really is the question that the Prime Minister's statement gives a wake-up call for. But will the opposition come to the point to discuss this? Well, the jury is out on that. Thank you very much for the panelists joining me on debate number one. On the other side, Nitish Kumar today took oath for the 8th time as the Chief Minister of Bihar. The only difference is that he has switched partners. Instead of the BJP today, RJD's Tejasvi Yadav is his new deputy. There were interesting scenes on display with Chacha Bhatija duo going out of their way to show that there was no residue of the past rancor of the last 5 years. After all, the name calling and aggression today was all about hugs and touching of feet. But Nitish Kumar wasted no time in attacking Prime Minister Modi, who endorsed him and made him the Chief Minister of Bihar during NDA's regime, despite his own party having lesser number of seats than the BJP. Nitish Kumar's credibility is on a sticky wicket given that he's known to change alliance partners every few years. The Chief Minister of Bihar, who until 24 hours ago was a close ally of the BJP, today dared the Prime Minister to survive 2024. Listen in.
मोदी जी क्या हमको देखिए, हमको किन्हीं पर कुछ नहीं कहना है। सर 2024 के प्रधानमंत्री पद के उम्मीदवार होंगे आप? नहीं, हम किसी चीज के उम्मीदवार का हम कोई दावेदारी नहीं है। आपके कार्यकर्ता लेकिन इतना तो जरूर कर दीजिए ना कि 14 में जो आए 24 तक के आगे रह पाएंगे कि नहीं रह पाएंगे, वो अपना समय।
So, on the Bihar debate tonight, Rajiv Pratap Rudy of the BJP is joined by Devesh Chandra Thakur, senior leader of the JDU. And Devesh Chandra Thakur ji, I want to ask you, अब तो थोड़ा मजाक सा हो गया है नीतीश कुमार जी के बारे में कि कितनी बार अपने दोस्त बदलते हैं. पूछना चाहती हूँ आपसे that he changes friends and with changing of friends also comments become extremely acidic. Last time, the rancor was against the RJD. Today, it was against the Prime Minister. Should we believe that this shortcut that Nitish Kumar has adopted is only because he fancies himself as a prime ministerial candidate against Prime Minister Modi in 2024? Mr. Thakur, can you hear me? Rajiv Pratap Rudy, why don't you take the question on the ambitions of Nitish Kumar?
Navika, I've seen Nitish Kumar talk and he's refrained from calling himself the prime ministerial candidate so far because there is enough doubt in his mind that whether he's acceptable or not. between his own people whom he thinks he has to get back to. But the worst part is he has a long standing in politics. But this time when he has gone back and he's left the BJP, because the mandate in 2020 was for the BJP along with Janata Dal United. And magnanimity of the Prime Minister of having asked him to become the Chief Minister, which was not a compulsion, but was an offer which was accepted by the Chief Minister of Bihar, Mr. Nitish Kumar then, and he continued to be with us. The only question which is being asked is what was there which prompted him to leave us? And this particular black spot which has come on him, is smeared with that, is a question which he will have to answer, that actually what politics compelled him to leave a partner with whom he shared relationship earlier also and had a very good electoral bonding post 2020. So he is smeared. There is something gone wrong which will stick to him all throughout.
No, while you may say that, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, people will also ask you the question of how much respect do you give your alliance partners? And isn't that the reason today that you really have no alliance partner in Hindi heartland?
Very valid point. And when you say, Navika, that how much respect you give, the question is that he got, even when he made the charges, that it was Chirag Paswan who was propped up by the BJP. It was a truth then, and it was a truth till yesterday, if he says so. But he still chose to be with us for 1.5 years. He did not raise a question. When he said that Ramchandra Prasad Singh, who was a minister who was there from 7th of July 2021 to 6th of July 2021, becomes a reason for him being betrayed, continues to be his minister in the government for 1 year, he did not ask any question. So what was there which happened all of a sudden, which prompted him to take a decision like this? Was his own, was his eagerness to, was he losing grounds in Bihar? Was something building up? Or he wants to go for larger politics? But I think the politics which he has done to switch sides will possibly cost him dearly, and it's not been acceptable. It will not be acceptable to anyone. His face,
well, that clearly time will tell. But let me get in Mr. Devesh Chandra Thakur. Mr. Thakur, is it Nitish Kumarji's personal ambition as a contender for the Prime Minister's job, or do you think it is really issues like RCP Singh or the Chirag formula that broke the alliance between the two parties? Mr. Thakur?
Good evening. I don't think there is any question of ambitions and all that as far as Honorable CM Nitish Kumar is concerned. Actually, the whole thing has started with the previous assembly elections. If you go and see the records, Chirag Paswan, as they say, was used to field his candidates. He fielded more than about 130 candidates in Bihar, out of which 115 were against the JDU candidates. And within those candidates, there were a number of people, very, very senior BJP leaders. So even at that time, it was absolutely in the air that LJP, Lok Janshakti Party, is being used by the central government,
Thakur,
by the central party.
You did not complain for 2 years that you were in power.
Bring down the numbers
continued with the BJP.
Of JDU in Bihar, so that if anything such happens, then... Sorry?
For 2 years you didn't complain.
Sorry?
I said for 2 years you didn't.
Yes, they did complain. We did complain. There were so many complaints against Chirag Paswan and the LJP to the BJP. Not once, twice. There were so many discussions between the senior leaders. Nothing was done about it. Absolutely nothing. And what do you make out? As I said, there were senior leaders of the BJP who were fielded by the LJP in those elections. And all these candidates of the LJP were fielded against JDU. None against the BJP. Is there anything more you require to reach a conclusion?
पर 2 साल आप सत्ता में रहे बिहार में और सेंटर में भी RCP Singh. Today RCP Singh becomes the reason for the split. How do you want people of Bihar and people of India to believe that?
There's absolutely nothing. The people of Bihar are believing it. Mr. RCP Singh, he was with Honorable Nitish Kumar since last almost 20 years. when he was in the services, when he was in the IAS, when he was in Delhi, he was an IAS officer from the UP cadre. He was brought as a private secretary to the Agriculture Minister, Mr. Nitish Kumar. Then he stuck with because he's from the same village and from the same caste as Nitish ji. So naturally the trust factor was there. And he came and he was doing good work, no doubt about it, in Bihar. But later probably he developed ambitions as far as things developed over here. And when he retired, he was made the senior member of the party. He was given the Rajya Sabha membership. He was given the national presidentship. He was given the president's post over there. But it looks, because after when his statements and his interviews have come, that have really put him in very bad light. When you serve with a person like Nitish Kumar, a person with an integrity like Nitish Kumar, and you cast aspersions on him, and you talk about his way of functioning.
So then when words like snake and Nitish Kumar is a snake and changes his skin every season were used by Lalu Prasad Yadav, that did not hurt the ego or the self-respect of Mr. Nitish Kumar? Lalu Prasad Yadav's words or Tejasvi Yadav's words, they did not impact him at all?
Sorry, I couldn't get your question. I'm sorry. Please, can you repeat it?
I said, सांप बुलाया था लालू प्रसाद यादव ने नीतीश कुमार को कि हर 2 साल में अपनी चमड़ी बदल लेते हैं, वो सही था। पलटू राम भी बुलाया था।
नहीं, कोई बात नहीं, पॉलिटिक्स में इट्स अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ सर्वाइवल, नेवर माइंड. एज फार एज नीतीश कुमार इज कंसर्न्ड, डोंट मेक एनी डिफरेंस टू हिम. He has done well for the people of Bihar.
That one statement says it all. Politics में आप किसी को सांप बुला लीजिए, आप किसी को पलटू राम बना लीजिए, सत्ता है तो सब ठीक है. Well, that is the basic grammar of politics, and today on the Newshour you heard it first hand, verbatim, from the JDU senior leader, Mr. Thakur. Thank you very much, Mr. Rudy and Mr. Thakur, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe.
You were watching the Newshour at 9. Stay tuned.
Party symbol, flag of Bharatiya Janata Party is also there. But what is more shocking is this particular sticker which has been on the windshield of this car, which says that Vidhayak Vidhan Sabha Sachivalaya, Gadi number 0505. I'm sorry, it's a UP 32HH0001.
आप बताइए
करिए उनसे कि 15 लड़के कैसे इस सोसाइटी में अपनी उपस्थिति देखिए, इससे बड़ी शर्म की बात नहीं हो सकती।
The News Hour at 9. You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome. You are watching the News Hour Agenda, India's most loved primetime show at 10. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today, Nitish Kumar took oath for the 8th time as Chief Minister of Bihar. The only difference is that this time, he changed his partners and executed what is now being referred to as Operation Reverse Lotus, dumping the BJP and tying up with the RJD, making Tejasvi Yadav the Deputy Chief Minister of the state while retaining the chair of Chief Minister for himself. There were interesting scenes on display with the Chacha Bhatija going out of their way to show that there was no residue of the past rancor of the last 5 years. After all, the name-calling and aggression today was all about hugs and touching feet, celebrations in the RJD camp, firecrackers being set out. The entire Yadav clan was in attendance at the swearing-in ceremony. The most interesting part, though, was the response from Rabri Devi, who herself has been at the receiving end of a scathing attack by Nitish Kumar. Today, though, once the oath had been administered, Rabri Devi said, as far as past comments are concerned, sab maaf hai.
सब माफ है सब। आप लोग का मीडिया के लोग का देन है कि आज यहाँ हम लोग को देखने के मिला।
नीतीश जी को माफ कर
सब माफ है।
Well, of course, Rabri Devi may have forgiven and forgotten, but what happens to the ties between the two parties, the RJD, the JDU and the BJP? What was the most revealing today is that within minutes of being sworn in, Nitish Kumar launched a barely veiled attack on the Prime Minister himself, declaring that those who won 2014 will not survive 2024. He made it clear that it was game on between him and Narendra Modi when it comes to the next Lok Sabha elections. But is the BJP listening?
मोदी जी क्या ना हमको देखिए, हमको किन्हीं पर कुछ नहीं कहना है।
सर 2024 में प्रधानमंत्री पद के उम्मीदवार होंगे आप?
नहीं, हम किसी चीज के उम्मीदवार का हम कोई दावेदारी नहीं,
आपके कार्यकर्ता
लेकिन इतना तो जरूर कर दीजिए ना कि 14 में जो आए 24 तक के आगे रह पाएंगे कि नहीं रह पाएंगे, वो अपना समय।
भाजपा के लोगों ने आज कहा कि सरकार बिहार की नहीं चलेगी और मुख्यमंत्री जी ने जो पलट में जो वार किया है वो मुख्यमंत्री जी ने कहा कि 24 में ही सरकार गिर जाएगी, दोबारा आने वाले लोग नहीं हैं। जो नीतीश कुमार जी ने आज बयान दिया इसमें सच्चाई है, जनता देख रही है और ये होकर के रहेगा।
इस देश ने कहा कि 7 पार्टियां एक तरफ हैं, आप अकेले हैं। मैंने कहा किसी पार्टी के पास कोई वोट नहीं होता, वोट होता है जनता के पास। नरेंद्र मोदी जब 2014 में भारतीय जनता पार्टी के चेहरा के रूप में प्रधानमंत्री आए, सारी पार्टियां विरोध कर रही थी, लेकिन जनता का आशीर्वाद नरेंद्र मोदी को मिला, 14 में भी मिला और हमें 19 में भी मिला और आने वाले 24 में भी मिलेगा।
However, even as the BJP today launched statewide protests against what it calls a betrayal of the people's mandate, non-BJP parties across the country gloated that a party that has for long been carrying out smash and grab operations today was given a taste of its own medicine. The shoe today is quite literally on the other foot.
अरे भाई, आपने यही प्रयोग बिहार में किया था जब आरजेडी जेडीयू का गठबंधन था, तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने उस सरकार को गिराया था। अब वही उनके साथ हो रहा है तो वो नैतिकता के खिलाफ है। यही काम इन्होंने महाराष्ट्र में किया, एक सरकार को इन्होंने गिरा दिया। यही काम इन्होंने मध्य प्रदेश में किया, यही काम इन्होंने कर्नाटक में किया, यही काम इन्होंने कोशिश राजस्थान में किया। तो मुझे लगता है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को सबसे पहले अपने गिरेबान में देखना चाहिए।
What BJP did, Nitish Kumar ji was with us. We had a Mahagathbandhan, Congress, RJD and Nitish Kumar ji before the election, and we were in the power. At that time, whatever the BJP or Modi ji did, was that right? The fact is, BJP play this type of dirty politics. This is a chal, chalan and charitra of BJP.
The era of backdoor politics have been countered very well by Mr. Nitish Kumar is what I personally believe, and I appreciate the efforts he has taken, and the Mahagathbandhan, it stood behind Mr. Nitish Kumar to uphold the verdict given by the people of Bihar. This backdoor politics should be one way or the other put to stop. Bihar has started the way. Bihar, Nalanda always has shown the way to the world, now to the country, I believe. I hope it repeats everywhere else also.
So is the question today whether the BJP has been subjected to Operation Reverse Lotus, being given a taste of its own medicine. For long, there have been many such operations across the country where parties have been broken, alliances have been broken, governments have been changed. Now, the BJP is seeing what it feels like to be other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us on the debate, we have Abdul Basit, leader of the RJD, Rajiv Ranjan, spokesperson of JDU, Rakesh Sinha, member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha. But joining us, in fact, in 15-20 minutes from now will be two big voices, both insiders of Bihar. Shotgun Sinha and Sushil Modi live and exclusive. One person extremely close to Nitish Kumar at one point. Another person was a member of the central government, but now is on the other side of the fence in the TMC. Both know Bihar very closely. Let me go across to our panel now. Rakesh Sinha ji, बहुत लोग आज कह रहे हैं बोया पेड़ बबूल का तो आम कहां से हुए?
No, I think this is a wrong assessment. The BJP workers are happy to be liberated from Nitish Kumar's leadership because he failed to give proper leadership to the Bihar. You know, the inauguration of this coalition government in Bihar has been seen by the people of Bihar. There is a dacoity, loot, plunder and killing of a person in a showroom in Patna. The moment this government took the oath, the elements which are undesirable elements, who are trying to capture the state power, the so-called elites and the elites of the social coalition, they have now free hold. And this has been demonstrated in Patna today. So I think that people of Bihar are in distress that what would happen of the law and order, because it is resurrection of the Jungle Raj. And I think that Nitish Kumar ji is a product of the JP movement. So the posterity expected such people who had great role in the past to have an exemplary role in moral, in values, ideological line. They always quote, Tejasvi and Nitish Kumar always quote Lohia. Lohia always talked about the Jati Bhin Samaj, casteless society. Lohia always talked about the equality and egalitarian society. But here it is domination of certain elements, dynasty. Lohia was against the dynasty politics. Would Nitish Kumar was that he is following Lohia? I think this is a degradation of the socialist movement. They have been turned into a caste movement, and not only caste. They are not uplifting any caste. In fact, they are the power-hungry people.
Okay, before we go on to the Lohiite politics and whether it's a degradation of that, how do you respond to the charge that this is the reverse of Operation Lotus? You did it in multiple states. You did it in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra. Now it's happening to you. Congress ने तो आज ये भी बोला है कि अब ऐसी ही politics होगी.
No, it is. No, there are different contexts. You cannot make a general rule for that. There are micro issues. In Maharashtra, there was a split in the Shivsena. This is a natural split. Shivsena was founded by Balasaheb Thackeray on Hindutva line. It shifted from Hindutva and adopted pseudo-secularism. So there was disenchantment among the workers. So there was a natural fallout of the Maharashtra government. Karnataka had different context. Madhya Pradesh, Jyoti Aditya Scindia, a senior leader of the Congress, resigned from the Congress. He distanced himself from the Congress due to insult he faced. So dynasty politics does not tolerate any creative, talented, constructive person.
But similarly, Nitish ji also felt insulted. He left you. Like Jyotiraditya left Kamal Nath.
India and Bihar.
Jyotiraditya Scindia left Kamal Nath. Nitish Kumar ji left you.
No, that's why I'm telling you. Here, Nitish Kumar ji, the vice presidential election, he was with the BJP. In the parliamentary debate on price rise and all other issues, JDU stood for the BJP. And what happened in 24 hours? So I think that opportunism has no muhurt. अवसरवाद का कोई मुहूर्त नहीं होता है. They take the side, any side. They are the shameless people in politics. And I think that those who have the reference point of 1950s and 60s and 70s, they would not tolerate such kind of politics.
It's a betrayal of the principles of Lohia ji. और वो तो छोड़िए, आज ही से जंगल राज का आगाज हो गया है. प्रोफेसर सिन्हा कह रहे हैं कि आज ही से लूटपाट शुरू हो गई है. ऐसा तो इनॉग्रेशन हुआ है.
देखिए, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर के छोटे मसलों को जिस तरह से ये उठाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो सबसे पहले भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेताओं को शर्म आनी चाहिए. श्रीकांत त्यागी के कहर से पूरा का पूरा नोएडा थर्राता था. भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बड़े नेताओं का वरदहस्त प्राप्त था. कोई असेंबली की गाड़ी का पास देता था तो कोई ठेके दिलवाता था. बड़े बड़े नेताओं के साथ तस्वीरें आई हैं. ऐसे अगर गुंडा तत्वों की वकालत करने वाली पार्टी बिहार में कानून व्यवस्था का अगर सवाल खड़े करती है तो एनसीआर में क्या आंकड़ों का अध्ययन कर लीजिए. और देश के ज़्यादातर राज्यों में, भाजपा शासित राज्यों से बेहतर कानून व्यवस्था के आंकड़े मिलेंगे आपको बिहार में, अगर प्रति लाख आबादी पर संज्ञेय अपराध के मामलों को अगर आप देखेंगे. पद्मजा जी, मैं एक दूसरी बात कहना चाहूँगा. ये अवसरवादिता जो है ना, ये सुविधा के लिए ये ऐसे दोहरे मानदंड अपनाने में महारत है हासिल है भारतीय जनता पार्टी.
राजीव रंजन जी,
ये नहीं बताएंगे कि
फॉर अ सेकंड टू से कि जिस तरीके से आपने श्रीकांत त्यागी ने जो किया वो जेल में है, गुंडा है, बट बेसिकली वो छुटभैया नेता. आपने उसको बिल्कुल माफिया की तरह जो दिखाया है उसका कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं है. जो बिहार में एक जंगल राज के दौर के बारे में बताया जाता है और जो इस आदमी की हरकतें हैं उनके बीच में कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं है. बट प्लीज गो ऑन, आंसर द पॉइंट कि आपने जंगल राज में धकेल दिया है. सिर्फ ऑपरेशन लोटस कह करके आपका बिहेवियर उचित नहीं हो जाता. राजीव रंजन जी.
पद्मजा जी, ये सवाल उनसे पूछिए कि देश में 2.5 दशक का ये जो सफर है एनडीए का, इसमें कोई साथी इनके साथ क्यों नहीं बचा है? पूरे देश में इसकी स्थापना काल के समय जनता दल यूनाइटेड, शिवसेना, शिरोमणि अकाली दल और उसके बाद ये कारवां जब आगे बढ़ा अटल जी के दौर में, तो अलग अलग राज्यों में अनेक छत्रप, अनेक क्षेत्रीय दल और उनका आधार व्यापक होता गया। उनके कंधे पर वो सवार होकर उन राज्यों में गए, उन पार्टियों को ही निगल जाने का काम किया या उन्हें कमजोर करने का काम किया। बिहार में जो ये काम कर रहे थे, मैं उसके बारे में आपको बता दूं। एक तरफ 2020 में इन्होंने नीतीश कुमार जी को चेहरा बनाया, दूसरी तरफ चिराग पासवान को की पीठ ठोक दी कि तुम उम्मीदवारों को लड़ा लो, और उसमें भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पहली कतार के अनेक नेता, जिसमें पिछले चुनाव में विधानसभा का चुनाव एक लड़ने वाले व्यक्ति जो स्वघोषित उम्मीदवार थे मुख्यमंत्री पद के, वो भी शामिल थे। और ये तमाम लोग फिर से भारतीय जनता पार्टी में वापस भी आ गए।
ओके,
देखिए, पहले दिन से इस सरकार में 2 उप मुख्यमंत्री थे इनके, और ज्यादा मंत्रियों की संख्या इनके पार्टी से थी, और इनके मंत्रियों ने सरकार के कार्यशैली पर सवाल खड़े किए। कैबिनेट में कभी बात नहीं करेंगे।
मुख्यमंत्री तो आपके थे, आपके कम विधायक होते हुए, बट आपने जो पहला सवाल उठाया है, मैं प्रोफेसर सिन्हा के पास ले जाती हूँ। ऐसा क्यों होता है? ऐसा क्यों होता है? आज राजीव रंजन कह रहे हैं कि बीजेपी जिस तरीके से भस्मासुर बन गई है फॉर इट्स अलायंस पार्टनर्स। लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल। टीडीपी ऑलमोस्ट गॉन, अकाली दल ऑलमोस्ट गॉन, शिवसेना ऑलमोस्ट गॉन, एआईडीएमके ऑलमोस्ट गॉन। जिनसे भी आप अलायंस करते हैं, खासतौर पे रीजनल पार्टीज, यू कैनिबलाइज देम। राकेश सिन्हा, आज नीतीश कुमार के लिए अस्तित्व की लड़ाई थी, आइदर टू बी फिनिश्ड बाय यू और टू सर्वाइव।
You know, there are two kinds of coalitions. One is a creative coalition. That coalition is based on ideological principles and values. Other coalition is coalition by compulsion. Sometimes you don't get the majority and you have to form the government. This is a democratic process in the parliamentary democracy. Every time, in every 3 months or 6 months, you can't go for the election. You cannot give burden on the state treasurer and on the people. In that context, that coalition by the compulsion, 2015 or 14 or 13, 12 and 1996 BJP, which lacked the mandate. Then we approached to the party, and like-minded party, we created a common minimum program during the Atal ji era. There is a difference between the Atal ji era and Modi ji era. We are now the
you're not answering the question. The question Rajiv Ranjan is saying कि आपके alliance partners ना सिर्फ आपके साथ बचते नहीं हैं, आप उनको खत्म कर देते हैं।
No, most of these parties are dynastic parties. They have been facing their internal contradiction. So their base is shrinking. You see, the Akali party is a dynastic party. Their base shrinked. It is not due to us. In fact, we have been damaged in Punjab due to Akali party, due to their rule. In AIDMK is a party which have a very good cordial relationship with the BJP. They have not parted away. We have very good relationship with the. You are talking about the Shivsena. Shivsena, there is a split. So there is a context. You have to talk in the context, not in the pan India.
Okay, राजीव रंजन जी, बीजेपी नहीं खत्म कर रही है, वो इंटरनल डिफरेंसेस से खत्म हो रहे हैं।
एक्सक्लूसिव बेस,
बीजेपी को ब्लेम मत कीजिए।
नहीं, ये संयोग है कि इनके साथ जो जाता है वो खत्म होने लगता है। ये एक संयोग ही है, और देश में 25 वर्षों में ये संयोग बार बार ये दोहराते रहे हैं। देखिए, 2 तरह के मॉडल, एक अटल जी का मॉडल, कुनबा बढ़ता गया, एक नरेंद्र मोदी जी का मॉडल, कुनबा बनता है और कुनबे से एक के साथ 2 निकल जाते हैं। ये लगातार सिलसिला, इनके पास हिंदी पट्टी में एक भी कोई पार्टी नहीं बची है। तमाम दल इनसे छूट कर चले गए।
पर बात ये भी सच नहीं है राजीव रंजन जी, तो दल छूट कर गए हैं। 2 का एग्जाम्पल ले लेते हैं, 2 का एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं। शिवसेना ने साथ में मिलकर चुनाव लड़ा, फिर वो छोड़ के गए, बीजेपी ने नहीं छोड़ा। आपने चुनाव साथ में मिलकर लड़ा, आप छोड़ के गए, फिर बीजेपी को क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि बीजेपी ने हमें दगा दिया? इन दोनों पार्टीज ने बीजेपी के साथ में, बीजेपी के नाम पे चुनाव लड़ा, जीते, सरकार चलाई, फिर छोड़ दिया। ऐसे कैसे? धोखा तो फिर दूसरी तरफ से हुआ ना, बीजेपी ने थोड़ा ना धोखा दिया।
देखिए, मैं वही आपको बात कहना चाहता हूं। जिस समय भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने एनडीए बनाई होगी ना, उस समय भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सीटों की संख्या क्या थी? ऐसा नहीं था कि ये जो बड़ा एक एक प्रभावशाली जो एक प्रभुत्वकारी इनका जो स्वरूप दिख रहा है, ये केवल इनके बल पर बना है। इसमें हम तमाम लोगों का योगदान है। और नीतीश कुमार जी की पार्टी 2010 में इनसे बड़ी पार्टी थी। 2015 में जब ये लड़े नीतीश कुमार जी के बगैर, तो ये 53 सीटों पर चले गए और उसके बाद ये जनता दल यूनाइटेड के साथ आए हैं। 2020 में इन्होंने बाजाबता प्लान करके चिराग पासवान को शह दे करके जनता दल यूनाइटेड,
पर ये बात सच नहीं है कि 2019 के चुनाव में अगर सबसे ज्यादा आपकी टैली रही है लोकसभा में, तो वो तब है जब आप भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ में लड़े थे। उसके पहले कितनी थी जेडीयू की टैली?
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी से पूछिए, हम तो बिहार में केवल 2 सीटें जीते, ये पूरे देश में 2 सीटों की पार्टी थी।
ठीक है,
देखिए ये कोई सवाल नहीं है, इन्हें भी इतिहास का अध्ययन करना चाहिए। राकेश जी एक अच्छे प्राध्यापक हैं और मेरे हिसाब से उनका ज्ञान काफी गहरा है। 2 सीटों का भी याद होगा
जी, बिल्कुल याद है, सबको, पूरी जनता को याद है। ये भी याद है कि आपने साथ में चुनाव लड़ा था। बिफोर प्रोफेसर सिन्हा आंसर्स टू दिस, आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इन अब्दुल बासित एज वेल। अगर नीतीश जी एक बार आपको छोड़ के गए हैं और अब एक बार बीजेपी को छोड़ के गए हैं, आपको ये यकीन है कि 3 साल आपके साथ ही रहेंगे, या 2 साल के बाद फिर से द इम्पॉसिबल विल बी पॉसिबल? अब्दुल बासित जी।
देखिए मैडम, यहाँ मैडम आइडियोलॉजी का फर्क है। बेसिकली जो हमारी जो थर्ड फ्रंट की आइडियोलॉजी वो आंदोलन के तहत आई है। आज अगर ये आंदोलन, जितने भी आंदोलन जो जेपी आंदोलन के पात्र हैं, वो आज भी उनकी सेकुलर सोच है। बेशक वो थोड़े दिन बीजेपी में रहे, जो भी उनके बिहार को डेवलप करने के लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की एश्योरेंस चाहिए थी या जो भी चाहिए था, मगर उन्होंने अपनी आइडियोलॉजी से कभी समझौता नहीं करा। नीतीश जी आंदोलन का पार्ट है, जेपी आंदोलन का पार्ट है। दूसरी बात, पूरे देश में एनडीए का सफाया लगभग तय है। एनडीए जैसी कोई चीज नहीं बची है। मैं राकेश सिन्हा जो कि आरएसएस के जानकार हैं, मैं उनसे काउंटर क्वेश्चन करना चाहूंगा कि ये सिर्फ इतना बता दें कि एनडीए का चेयरपर्सन कौन है इंडिया के अंदर, भारत में कौन है एनडीए का चेयरपर्सन? एनडीए को खत्म करने का जो प्रण है वो आरएसएस द्वारा लिया गया है कि वो केवल बीजेपी, आरएसएस, बजरंग दल की पार्टी बनकर रहना चाहते हैं देश में। अब देश ये स्वीकार नहीं करेगा। देश ने पूरा निर्णय ले लिया है कि अब 2024 में 85% वोट जो है ओबीसी का, वो सारा का सारा एकत्रित होगा। नीतीश बाबू की मैं बहुत सराहना करता हूं कि उन्होंने बहुत समय पर यह बढ़िया फैसला लिया, देश के हित में फैसला लिया। यह बिहार के हित में नहीं है, यह पूरे देश के हित में फैसला है। और मैं इस बात को बड़ा मजबूती के साथ कहना चाहता हूं कि बीजेपी वो सांप है जो अपने ही साथियों को डसने का काम करती है, और जहां भी गए हैं इन्होंने पूरा इंडिया का सफाया कर दिया।
दिलचस्प बात है, आप सांप की बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि बहुत पहले लालू जी ने किसी को सांप बुलाया था। पर चलिए कोई बात नहीं, प्रोफेसर सिन्हा कुछ बात बताना चाह रहे थे। प्रोफेसर सिन्हा,
बस इतना बता दें कि काउंटर मतलब कौन है एनडीए के चेयरपर्सन, जैसे यूपीए के
very important that these question are a local question but a national significance. There was a conspiracy to kill Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, and PFI was involved, and we got the headquarter of PFI in Fulbari Sharif near Patna. It has a network in Bihar. And when the NIA was probing the incident, and Nitish Kumar is silent. I don't know why. Then we have one constitution, and Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee sacrificed his life for one nation, one flag. And there's one administrative system all over the country. But we find that there are several schools which are providing holy days on Friday. We cannot run the schools, government schools, colleges and administrative setup on the basis of a particular religion. Any religion. We are a constitutionally ruled society. We are constitutionally ruled the state. We are not under the monarchy. We are not under theocracy. What Nitish Kumar has to say? The vote bank politics, you are doing vote bank politics to destroy the civil society. The posterity will not forgive you, Nitish Kumar ji and Lalu Yadav ji, because here Prime Minister's life and death is concerned. The conspiracy against the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister is silent. The government is silent. You are supporting the PFI. You are just indirectly supporting the PFI. So I have answer. I need answer from two learned spokesperson of the two respective parties.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it at that because we are out of time, and I believe that both the leaders are now waiting for us. But this is going to be an ongoing debate over the next 3 years as well, because this is going to get very, very sharp. There has been a coup of sorts which has been launched on the BJP. Who will set to gain and who will turn out to be the biggest loser? We'll be keeping a close eye here. Thank you very much, all three gentlemen, for joining me. Let's go straight across, in fact, now to Mr. Sushil Modi, who is joining us. Well, Sushil Modi, right at the outside, let me start by asking you about this entire buzz which is happening in Bihar, that there is a phone conversation of someone who used to be a minister in your government at the center and ministers of the Nitish government, कि आप लोग नीतीश बाबू की सरकार गिराने की कोशिश कर रहे थे और ये टेप्स अब पूरे बिहार में एक घर घर में चर्चा का विषय बने हुए हैं. क्या आप नीतीश बाबू की सरकार गिराने की कोशिश कर रहे थे?
This is 200% false. This is a white lie. ये सरासर झूठ है. इतना बड़ा झूठ कोई दूसरा कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. And why will break JDU? Even if we break JDU, how we are going to form government in Bihar? Because we are only 76. So we require another 46 MLAs to form a government in Bihar. So how we will form government? Even if we break JDU, then how a government is formed in Bihar? Why will break JDU? So देखिए जब गठबंधन तोड़ना था, they are finding excuse in RCP Singh, in Chirag Paswan, that BJP wanted defection. And see, Chirag Paswan episode is 19 months back. And now they have realized after 19 months that BJP planted Chirag Paswan. And you lost the elections because the popularity of your leader went down. आपके जो नेता थे, उनकी जो लोकप्रियता थी, वो घटती जा रही थी. उनका ग्राफ नीचे गिर रहा था. अगर नरेंद्र मोदी नहीं होते, you would not have won even 45 seats. It is only because of Narendra Modi's popularity and of his aggressive campaign in Bihar that BJP, JDU could win 45 seats.
Sir, can I just quickly interject, because you mentioned RCP Singh. This is the person, Mr. RCP Singh, who the RJD, JDU are saying was used by the BJP to lure JDU MLAs. What do you say to that?
No, I've already answered your allegation, your question, that we require 46 MLAs to form a government in Bihar. So even JDU could have been broken, then also we could not form government in Bihar. So there is no question of breaking JDU. Why will break our alliance with Nitish Kumar? We had such a good relation with Nitish Kumar. I worked with him for 13 years, with Arun Jaitley, with everybody. And then why he came back with Narendra Modi? Once upon a time he broke the alliance with the BJP only because of Narendra Modi. And after 3-4 years, again he joined hand with the Narendra Modi. See, it was the greatness of Narendra Modi that he regularly talked to Nitish Kumar. In the last 1.5 years, he must have talked more than a dozen times with Nitish Kumar. Amit Shah used to talk to Nitish Kumar. Nadda ji ne वो telephone क्या करते थे? धर्मेंद्र प्रधान गए. So why, what more comfort you want? लेकिन मुझे ये लगता है, जैसा मैंने आज दिन में भी कहा, कि नीतीश wanted to become something much more than Chief Minister of Bihar. So two of his colleagues, his senior colleagues, they met BJP leaders and said that अगर संभव हो तो नीतीश जी को वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बना दीजिए. And when BJP said that it is not possible to make Nitish Kumar as vice president, then I think he has some ambition to become prime minister, becoming president of India, some high ambition. So keeping
very interesting, and that's an important piece of information that you're giving us, Mr. Modi, that people from the JDU approached the BJP to make Nitish ji vice president. Who are these people?
No, so it will not be good to name anybody. I don't want to expose anybody, but I can vow that this is 100% true. And I was told by ministers that falana mantri mere paas ek baar do baar baatchit kiya कि make some effort that Nitish Kumar can get an graceful exit from Bihar politics. So that may be, but I don't say that because of this only, because BJP refused. That's why Nitish Kumar broke this alliance. This is I won't say this, but he is betrayed. And this mandate was not for Nitish Kumar. This mandate was for Narendra Modi. If Narendra Modi would not have campaigned for Nitish Kumar, then Nitish Kumar would have reduced only 25-30 seats. The entire EBC vote bank has shifted to BJP. So Nitishji, you should not be in illusion.
Okay, Mr. Sushil Modi, really appreciate you speaking to us. It will be interesting. We've been hearing a lot of recriminations, allegations from the BJP camp. It will be interesting to hear what the view is now from the other side of the fence. All right, joining us now is Member of Parliament, Mr. Shatrughan Sinha, somebody who is a Member of Parliament from Asansol but knows Bihar very, very closely. He has been a politician from Bihar. Mr. Sinha, first of all, what do you say to cynics who think that this is going to be a short-lived government, will not even last out the rest of the 3 years term?
I think this statement is coming out of their desperation or frustration. Grapes are sour, khatte angur kaun khaye, wo wali baat, because just he has left you. He has taken the Nitish Kumar along with the dashing, dynamic and man of all seasons, young man, Tejasvi Yadav. He has taken the right decision at the right time, in the right direction. So people are naturally taken back, they are in awe, and they're going through shock therapy, and that's why these kind of statements coming out.
But today when Mr. Nitish Kumar was taking oath, the BJP was protesting about a dhokha that has been done. The mandate that happened in 2020 was in the name of Mr. Modi.
Oh, I didn't know that. Was it in the name of Mr. Modi? Oh, that's what they say. Okay, I will not go for that. I'll just go what they have said, that dhokha hua hai. What dhokha? Dhokha was, why did they join Nitish Kumar in the first place? Didn't our Honorable Prime Minister call him JDU party was like, Janta ka Utpidan or Nyay ki party, something like that? Didn't he ask for the DNA of Nitish Kumar? Nitish Kumar, didn't he call him Bharatiya Janata Party? Didn't he call Bharatiya Janata Party Badka Jhutha Party? तो ये सब तो चलता रहता है ना पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स में. आज की पॉलिटिक्स में आई वाज इंस्पायर्ड बाय जयप्रकाश नारायण. I came into politics under my social obligation, but I thought I was coming into healthy politics. अब कहाँ है हमाम में सब नंगे हैं चारों तरफ से. कल कुछ गोवा का मिनिस्टर used to abuse भारतीय जनता पार्टी. He didn't say complimentary things about the honorable PM. He was made the minister. जनादेश का अपमान बोल रहे हैं. जनादेश का अपमान हो गया बिहार में. What about भारतीय जनता पार्टी? What did they do in Goa? What did they do in Madhya Pradesh? What have they been doing in Maharashtra? And over in Bihar also, I know through my very confidential sources that money game was being played over here in Bihar also. Some people were contacted, and even some of the ministers are also involved. But chalo, at the moment things are smooth. I'm not going to take their names now. But ये क्या करते हैं? What is right for Peter should be right for Paul. मीठा मीठा गप गप कड़वा कड़वा थू थू नहीं चलेगा. आपके साथ होते तो आपके साथ सगा है, और जैसे ही आपको छोड़ के आया तो धोखा हो गया और ठगी हो गई. वाह. तो अगर ऐसा था तो you are a very experienced people, you are very experienced people. Why did you join him in the first place?
No, sure enough. In politics, nobody can claim to be holier than thou. But if I may just make an interjection, the betrayal is of the people. ये बात तो आप भी मानेंगे कि बहुत वक्त तक बिहार में जो आम आदमी है वो जंगल राज की बात करते रहा है. और घोटाले हुए हैं, चारा घोटाले में कन्विक्शन भी हुआ है. लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन ये तो आंकड़े बताते हैं that they have improved in the last 10 years. The whole campaign of Nitish Kumar was about the lawlessness under Laluji and the RJD in general. Now to bring those people back in power, क्या जनता के साथ धोखा नहीं है? जनता नहीं डरेगी कि अब क्या होगा?
देखिए, जो पॉलिटिक्स में कल थे वो आज नहीं है, जो आज हैं वो कल नहीं होंगे। ये पॉलिटिक्स में लगातार परिवर्तन और बदलाव होता रहता है। अभी आपने बात की कि पहले ऐसा था और जंगल राज था, ये वो। अब तो ये सब जंगल राज वगैरह सब एक स्टंटबाजी हो गई, एक ड्रामाबाजी हो गई है। आप सिर्फ कहे जाए, एक नाम अच्छा क्वाइन कर देते हैं, जंगल राज। जंगल कभी कोर्ट से भी कहलवा देते हैं आप, कभी इधर से भी कहा जाता है। उसका क्या, आदमी बदलता नहीं है, आदमी एक्सपीरियंस से सुधरता नहीं है, आदमी ठीक नहीं होता। आज कहाँ बिहार में मैं आपसे भी बात कर रहा हूँ, मेरे पास अभी इतने लोग बैठे हुए हैं, कोई खतरा नहीं, कोई सिक्योरिटी का डर नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक है यहाँ पे। तो मैं इतना टहलता रहता हूँ, जाता आता रहता हूँ। बहुत चेंजेस होते हैं, होता है चेंजेस। आज नीतीश कुमार जो कल थे उससे आज बहुत ज्यादा मैच्योर्ड है। आज वो तेजस्वी यादव जो कल था या कल रहे होंगे, उससे आज बहुत ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं, बहुत सीखा उन्होंने लाइफ में। अब ये दोनों आज मिले हैं, ये सब बातें फैलाई जा रही हैं कि साहब ये दोनों आ गए हैं तो ऐसा है, पिछली बार जंगल रहा था। लोग को कुछ नहीं, लोग बहुत खुश हैं। मैं आपको यकीन दिलाता हूं, अगर मेरे ऊपर, मेरी क्रेडिबिलिटी पे, मेरी इंटीग्रिटी पे थोड़ा विश्वास है तो मैं आपको कह सकता हूं, बिहार में जनता बाय एंड लार्ज दे आर फीलिंग वेरी हैप्पी फॉर दिस चेंज। मैं जो भी पाया हूं, मैं तो कल हमारे स्कूल का 187 फाउंडेशन डे था, पटना कॉलेजिएट स्कूल का, उसके लिए आया था। ये महज संयोग था, प्रयोग नहीं था जो मैं कल आया। लेकिन आने के बाद जब लोगों से मिला, देखा, उफ, यूफोरिया है, इतने लोग खुश हैं यहाँ पे। इसीलिए आज आपने बीजेपी, हमारे दोस्तों की पार्टी जो है, आज प्रदर्शन वगैरह हुआ, 100 आदमी भी नहीं गया देखने उनको। आज 100-200 आदमी भी नहीं गए उनको देखने के लिए, मिलने के लिए, क्योंकि लोग बहुत खुश हैं इस परिवर्तन से। और नीतीश कुमार पे निगाहें टिकी हुई हैं अभी भी और शायद आने वाले चंद सालों के लिए भी।
क्या आपको लगता है कि आरजेडी बदल गई है? क्योंकि आरजेडी का खुद आपने पॉलिटिक्स देखा है, आप तो खुद रहे हैं पटना से एमपी, आपने खुद इसके बारे में बात भी की है कि एक वक्त होता था कि गाड़ी ऐसे उठा के ले जाते थे, जब महिलाएं 7 बजे के बाद घर से नहीं निकलती थी, अनअकम्पनीड तो निकलती ही नहीं थे। Men used to feel unsafe.
नहीं, अभी देखिए, आप जबकि बात करें, पहले मैंने कहा कि नहीं कहा, मुझे याद नहीं, मैंने तो शायद नहीं कभी ऐसा कहा। मैं कभी किसी व्यक्ति विशेष के ऊपर कभी आक्षेप, कभी अटैक नहीं करता हूं, मैं मुद्दों पे बात करता हूं। लेकिन खैर, जिन लोगों ने भी कहा होगा, अभी बहुत फर्क है। अभी तो महिलाएं बाहर घूम सकती हैं रात में। अभी पटना वो पटना नहीं है, बिहार वो बिहार नहीं है जिस बिहार के बारे में हम लोग को बताया गया। और उससे बड़ी बात मैं ये कह रहा हूं, अगर इनको लगता है कि ये धोखा दिया है, इन्होंने जनादेश का अपमान किया है भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने, भारतीय जनता पार्टी को अगर ऐसा महसूस होता है कि इन्होंने, जेडीयू ने ऐसा किया है, तो मैं पहला उससे सवाल ये है कि आप तो इतने अच्छे से उनको तोड़कर लाए, कोशिश की थी, आपके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आप तोड़कर लाए थे, आप जंगल राज वगैरह की बात करके लाए थे, तो इसके ये भी तो पार्टनर थे, तो आपने इनको शामिल क्यों किया? आप इनसे जुड़े क्यों? ये जुड़े और अभी आज आप बोल रहे तो खट्टे अंगूर खट्टे वाली बात हो गई। कहते हैं आप इस तरह बात कर रहे हैं कि अब चूंकि आपके पास नहीं है, जब आपके पास थे तो सगे थे, और आप आपके पास नहीं है तो ठग निकल आए। वाह, ये कहाँ का इंसाफ है? वही मैं कह रहा हूं, अभी नीतीश कुमार जो हैं वो पूरा देश और खासकर विपक्षी एकता और विपक्ष पार्टी, सारे विपक्ष के लोग उनको बहुत गौर से देख रहे हैं, उनको तरफ बहुत मुखातिब हैं, और इनका भी, इन्होंने जिस तरह से भी फॉलो किया है, जागृति पैदा की है, एक देश में एक जागृति का संचार हुआ है अभी। तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूं ये बहुत जो काम किया नीतीश कुमार ने बहुत सराहनीय है, प्रशंसनीय है, और अखिलेश यादव की नजरों में सही मायनों में बहुत ही अनुकरणीय है।
बहुत लोग कह रहे हैं कि नीतीश जी की अपनी जो एक एम्बिशन है सेंटर में जाने की, दैट इज द ओनली रीजन दैट ही हैज वॉकड आउट। डू यू थिंक दैट एम्बिशन विल बी रियलाइज्ड? एंड नाउ बिकॉज यू आर इन द तृणमूल कांग्रेस, विल योर पार्टी हेल्प हिम रियलाइज दैट एम्बिशन? Will Mamata Banerjee step aside and help Nitish Babu be the face of a joint opposition in the centre at 2024?
पहली बात तो I would say, what is the harm? अगर उनका एम्बिशन है, जो मैं नहीं जानता हूँ, नीतीश बाबू का एम्बिशन है या उनके फॉलोअर्स से देश की अपोजिशन चाहती है कि वो सामने फोर फ्रंट में आए, आई डोंट नो। लेकिन पहली बात है कि उनका अगर ये है, महत्वाकांक्षा है, तो क्या अर्ज है? अगर मोदी जी बन सकते हैं प्रधानमंत्री तो दूसरे कोई नहीं बन सकते हैं। यानी सिर्फ यही नारा चलेगा कि मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, बस। अभी खुद देखिए आप, जिस तरह से मोदी जी के बाकी एलाई छोड़ के जा रहे हैं, ऐसे गए हैं वहाँ से अकाली दल से लेके शिवसेना से लेके बाकी लोग, और जिस तरह से उन्होंने धन शक्ति का और बाकी अपने शक्तियों का दुरुपयोग किया है, जिस तरह से गोवा की सरकार तोड़ी, जिस तरह से मध्य प्रदेश की सरकार तोड़ी, महाराष्ट्र में खेल किया, बिहार में जो खेल कर रहे थे, ऐसे और कई जगह हुआ। तो ऐसा ना हो कि और एलाई छोड़ के चले, आपका सबसे ट्रस्टवर्दी नीतीश कुमार भी छोड़ के चले गए। तो क्या ऐसा ना हो कि 2024 की घड़ी आते आते मोदी है तो मुमकिन है का नारा खत्म होके कहीं ये ना हो जाए मोदी है तो नामुमकिन है? क्योंकि अब वहां भी कुछ लोग और खड़े हो रहे हैं, क्या वहां भी खबरें आ रही हैं कि कुछ लोग और भी सामने आ रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री की रेस में उन रूलिंग पार्टी से। तो किसी का कोई भी रेस में आए, इसमें हर्ज क्या है भाई? नहीं, हर्ज कुछ अगर आप कल आप प्रधानमंत्री बनती हैं, मैं प्रधानमंत्री बनता हूं, तो क्या हमें हक नहीं है? देखो क्या कल वो कौन होगा लीडर, अल्टीमेट लीडर कौन होगा, और अल्टीमेटली फेस कौन होगा प्रधानमंत्री का, और अल्टीमेटली प्रधानमंत्री कौन होगा, इसका फैसला तो भारत की जनता और विपक्षी दल मिलकर करेंगे। उसका हम और आप नहीं कर सकते, और वो भी इस घड़ी में मीडिया के ऊपर वो बात नहीं हो सकती है, क्या टेलीविजन के चैनल पे वो बात नहीं हो सकती है। लेकिन ये जरूर है कि आज ममता जी तो खैर ट्रू लीडर, द मासेस, द ग्रेट लीडर, द आयरन लेडी, वो तो कमाल है, उनकी फॉलोइंग भी है। मैं खुद देख के अभी आपको कहा मैंने कि अभी चुनाव लड़ने गया था वहाँ आसनसोल से, लैंडस्लाइड विक्ट्री हमारी हुई, 3 लाख से ज़्यादा वोटों से जीता वहाँ पे। एक तो ये भी कारण होगा कि वहाँ ईवीएम मशीन नहीं का बोलबाला नहीं हो सका, तो एक तो जीता। मैं क्रेडिट देता हूँ उसको ममता बनर्जी को, ममता बनर्जी की पॉपुलरिटी को, मैं तृणमूल कांग्रेस के लोगों को, और वहाँ पे अपना आसनसोल की जनता को थोड़ा बहुत थोड़ा मैं अपने आप को भी देता हूँ। हैविंग सेड दिस, लेट मी ऑल्सो टेल यू कि ये जो है फोर फ्रंट में जो लोग आएंगे, ममता जी हैं, हमारे राहुल भी हो सकते हैं, वाई नॉट, ही इज डूइंग क्वाइट वेल, उनकी लार्जेस्ट पार्टी है पार्लियामेंट में भाई, कैसे आप उनको इग्नोर करेंगे? और आज नीतीश कुमार ने बोल्ड एंड ब्यूटीफुल स्टेप लिया है, जिस तरह से बहुत डेयरिंग स्टेप लिया है और बहुत टाइमली डिसीजन लिया है, ये तो गजब का लिया है। तो आज एकदम फोर फ्रंट में है, एकदम दे हैव कम एज द मोस्ट deserving and most tallest leaders of the country today, among opposition, of course.
All right, interesting. You call it a bold and a beautiful step, and one that will put the Modi hai to mumkin hai slogan in jeopardy in 2024. Thank you very much, Mr. Shatrughan Sinha, for having spoken to us.
The News Hour at 10. We'll be right back after the break.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, a free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
There will have to be bilateral agreement with whoever we want. There's too much of politics involved for there to be a regional trade agreement in South Asia.
You are aware of reports of a proposed visit by this vessel, Hambantota port in August. Let me just say the government carefully monitors any development having a bearing on India's.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Justice Uday Umesh Lalit has been appointed 49th Chief Justice of India. Outgoing Chief Minister N.V. Ramana had recommended to the centre to appoint the senior-most judge of the Supreme Court as his successor. Fresh face-off erupts between Prime Minister Modi and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal over Reverie remark. Prime Minister Modi said freebies make selfish politics and such policies would burden the taxpayers.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them. I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now.
To commemorate 75 years of Indian independence, PM Modi launched Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. And yes, the campaign is exactly what it sounds like. Under this, the centre aims to see the tricolour hoisted atop more than 20 crore houses across the country.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
UP ATS arrested an alleged ISIS operative who was planning an explosion on Independence Day. Security forces eliminated the killer of Rahul Bhatt and Aamir Bhatt in an anti-terror operation in Budgam.
Party symbol, flag of Bharatiya Janata Party is also there. But what is more shocking is this particular sticker which has been on the windshield of this car, which says that Vidhayak Vidhan Sabha Sachivalaya, Gadi number 0505. I'm sorry, it's a UP 32HH0001.
पता करिए उनसे कि 15 लड़के कैसे इस सोसाइटी में अपनी शिवस्ती देखें। इससे बड़ी शर्म की बात नहीं हो सकती।
time saying some things that are maybe not the easiest thing in the world to hear. I'm not sitting here or standing here promising you tens and tens of billions of pounds of goodies straight away, because I don't think that's the right thing to do for our economy. But I want to be honest with you. I want to be straight with the country about the challenges we face and what is going to be required to fix them. And that's why I think you can trust me on this, because I'm prepared to do that, even though it's going to cost me politically.
Internet has been suspended for the next 5 days in Manipur, and also Section 144 has been imposed in parts of the state. The tribal bodies have called for an economic blockade, and this has escalated. The protests have escalated on Saturday when there were reports of vandalism and arson, and a car was also vandalized by protesters in the Bishnupur area.
Ahead of Independence Day, after security forces found an improvised explosive device weighing 25 to 30 kilograms at the Tahab crossing on the circular road area of South Kashmir's Pulwama district. An encounter broke out in Jammu and Kashmir district of Badgam in the early hours of today. In fact, Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, including the killer of Kashmiri Pandit Rahul Bhatt, have been trapped in this encounter. Security tightened along the Udhampur-Katra railway link and at Udhampur railway station. Special dog squads, Government Railway Police and Railway Protection Force jawans have been deployed to ensure security ahead of the Independence Day. Checking and frisking of passengers also being done. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra test positive for COVID-19. She took to her Twitter handle to share this information. She's tweeted saying that I will be isolating at home. As many as 5 people were injured after the bus driver lost control and hit a few parked vehicles and rammed into a tree on the roadside of the Joshi area of Goregaon. In fact, the injured now have been taken to the nearest government hospital.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're tuned into Times Now. This is News Now Overnight and I am Poonam Burde. Lots lined up for you over the next 1 hour, but let's get you started with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi targets the Congress, Nitish and Kejriwal. One speech, 3 attacks. Rivals hit back with Jumla Jivi jibe. Back as CM for the 8th time, Nitish dares Modi for 2024 contest. Says it won't be a cakewalk like 2014. Minutes before son Tejaswi takes oath as Deputy CM of Bihar, Rabri Devi says all insults and barbs forgiven and forgotten. Supreme Court transfers all 9 FIRs against Nupur Sharma to Delhi, protects her from arrest until probe is completed. Times Now stings Shrikant Tyagi's uncle, reveals on camera his nephew was close to Swami Prasad Maurya. It's a Times Now exclusive. Bharat Mata Puja ahead of Independence Day triggers row in Mangalore University. Event called off after permission denied. Speculations of leadership change in Karnataka. Former CM dismisses rumours, says Basavaraj Bommai to stay at the helm. Viral video from a Gurugram nightclub. Facing charges of criminal intimidation and assault, Shrikant Tyagi is now behind bars. But his arrest has only fueled further blame game, sparked by the Noida Police Commissioner's statement that an MLA sticker was found on one of his vehicles that was obtained through Swami Prasad Maurya, who is now with the Samajwadi Party. When confronted, SP Maurya clearly denied those charges.
एक सोची समझी साजिश के तहत इन्होंने उसकी सुई घुमा दिया स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य की ओर, जबकि स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य का उससे कोई लेना देना है ही नहीं। मैं कह दिया कि मैंने कोई पास नहीं दिया है और साथ ही साथ पिछले 4 साल से हमारी उसकी कभी मुलाकात भी नहीं है। तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी क्यों बार बार ये कहती है कि त्यागी का संबंध मौर्य जी से था? केशव देव मौर्य जी डिप्टी सीएम के साथ उसका फोटो था, भाजपा के तमाम दिग्गज बड़े बड़े नेताओं के साथ उसका फोटो था, ये कैसे अपना दामन छुड़ा सकते हैं?
Now, in the face of denials, Times Now gets you a first-hand testimony of an insider that conclusively proves that Shrikant Tyagi had political links with Swami Prasad Maurya. Times Now tracked down Shrikant Tyagi's uncle Ramesh Tyagi. On candid camera, he exposes the root of Tyagi's political clout.
ये मतलब शुरू से बीजेपी में थे या पहले किसी और पार्टी में थे? श्रीकांत जी सारी पार्टियों में थे? नहीं मतलब जैसे अगर अच्छा स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य जी के साथ में थे, अच्छा उनके कारण ये बीजेपी में आए थे। अच्छा रमेश शर्मा को डर था श्रीकांत जी से? तो पार्टी में कोई पोजीशन पे थोड़ी थे, मतलब कोई पद पे थे, ये तो साथ में थे ना बस। पद में थे ही सब सही थी, घर जैसी बात सब
Now, a testimony that almost verifies what the BJP has been alleging for days together, that Swami Prasad Maurya was the fountainhead of political clout that fueled Tyagi's arrogance. But how did he misuse this particular influence? Listen in.
इनका पुलिस प्रशासन में अच्छा पकड़ था, शासन प्रशासन में इनका पकड़ था अच्छा, जान पहचान थी अच्छी। हाँ? अच्छा लखनऊ ही रहते थे। टोल भी नहीं लगता था, टोल टैक्स भी नहीं।
Now, it's not just Shrikant Tyagi's uncle. Even his wife unequivocally says that yes, the MLA sticker that was on one of his cars was given to him by SP Maurya.